ready to get this party started. Find a better effect. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
These all suck. All right, I'll do it normal. We'll do it live. Fucking thing. What's the date? It is March 10th, 2016. This is the Overdose Talk Show. I'm broadcasting live from New Orleans with my two sisters, Andrea and Katie, and Andrea's fiance, David Box, all on Skype up in Chicago. Welcome, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
How do you do?
Oh, we do well. How do you do?
What's going on over there? What's the scene? What's the scene like?
It's full of hair.
You guys have too many animals.
Yeah, that's the most accurate way to describe what's happening. It is just so hairy here.
It's very hairy.
It's pretty hilarious.
Smells like a shit box here.
Yeah, everything's covered in hair and shit all the time.
So
And just garbage piled everywhere.
Yeah, we actually got rid of a lot of garbage.
Yeah, wait.
Too.
Last time I was there, Katie, I was walking around while they were gracious enough to let me stay there for a few days, and I was just like, Andrea, you're ruining this nice apartment. They shouldn't. they shouldn't even be allowing you to stay here any longer. Just could step it up.
He kept saying, "What would your landlord say if he came in here?"
He
Wouldn't
doesn't
you
give
be
a
embarrassed?
fuck. Most of the problems with this place were here when he showed it to us and when we moved in. He doesn't give a shit.
So there was an
Fuck 'em.
8-foot reptile predator in the living room when you got there? Why do you have that?
And 17 dogs and 35 cats.
Yeah. And just piles of clothes
Yeah,
and
why do you
shit.
think we chose this
We're
place?
swimming in pussy here in Chicago.
So, why do you have that snake, by the way? It's
He's a hand-me-down.
It's such
He's awesome.
It's such a weird thing to have. I would never like that. I would get up in the morning and just walk out there slowly and stare at it nervously for 2 hours to start every day. Just like wondering, I would think, like, when am I going to get the balls to kill this thing? When the fuck? This
No!
thing has to be taken care of and dealt with. I just have too strong of an instinct with snakes and insects. I could never have a spider as a pet. If I would have it for a few days.
I could.
Like a tarantula or something, and then I would just fucking smash it with a rolling pin because it would just drive me nuts. I couldn't handle that. Like one time I was taking a shit in a bathroom in a basement that was notorious for spiders, and I'll never forget this. I looked up in the corner, and this spider made like this really dramatic spider pose at me while it was in its web. It did its arms, in like it like bent its wrists and like put its arms out in this like really weird like elongated spider pose, and it fucking sent chills down my spine just seeing that. I was like, man, it just activated this primal nerve center in my brain that just was like enemy, kill, and that's how I feel about every snake I've ever seen. Just like this, then that's why the human race has gotten as far as we have. Because we don't fucking bring snakes in our houses. You guys are idiots.
Dude, the snake is the least dangerous thing in the apartment as well as the easiest thing to kill. Like
you feel like a big man.
He'd be dead before he even knew you pulled him out of the tank.
How would you kill him? You would just grab him by the end of his tail and just
I
snap him like
wouldn't.
a t-shirt? Snap.
Honestly,
like a
if
t-shirt.
you let him out of the tank, he'd find a way to kill himself. That's like the first thing he would do. Because he just wants to cram in places that he doesn't fit.
He's depressed.
In fact, we used to have like a T-Rex skull thing in the tank, and one day we woke up to him thrashing around because he stuffed himself in the mouth of it and got stuck and couldn't get out.
Dave had to break it off.
I had to crack the thing and break it to save his life.
That sounds traumatic.
Nothing but trouble. Okay.
Yeah.
Should we
high maintenance?
Should we get to the important news of the day, which is of course the racially insensitive comments of one of the presidential candidates? I think everybody knows who the most racially insensitive candidate is and who we're going to talk about, right?
It's obvious.
Yeah. Anyone gonna say it? Anyone want to kind of?
Nobody's even falling for that.
Nobody wants to go with
Say it.
this. We're
It's
talking.
Donald Trump.
No, God damn it! It's Bernie Sanders.
Oh, what?
Bernie Sanders, the
Not
old,
Grandpa President.
the
But he
old,
hugs
old
black
racist
people,
man, and Muslims.
he lets black people take the podium.
Yeah.
He brought a Muslim on stage one time.
You remember
He
when?
fought for civil rights in the 60s.
You remember when Princess Diana touched a person
Yes.
with AIDS, and it was like such a huge deal because like she would go to Africa and like hug people with AIDS, and it like, broke all these barriers. That's how I felt when Bernie Sanders hugged that Muslim. I was
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I was like,
It was a real turning point for American culture.
I was like, so I can't catch that, I guess, just from contact. All right. It really opened my eyes and enlightened me culturally. You know what I mean?
Look, he's still white.
So
Yeah, he's still a Jew.
Bernie Sanders. By the way, that is.
Wait!
that-
But Jews hate Muslims!
I know, and
He's redefining.
Oh.
the funniest thing about Bernie Sanders to me too is like there's reasons we find over and over again that it seems silly that people call him like this new fresh alternative blah blah blah, and just to put it simply, and I know David Box will agree, I don't understand the idea of like, hey, let's try something new, let's let an old Jew run things for a while. Like, yeah, we've kind of been doing that, haven't we? A little bit. No?
No, we never tried that before.
So everyone is saying that this is a horrible thing that Bernie Sanders has said. Should we just listen to the clip first and then get into it? The question is, what racial blind spots do you have? Let's see. Oops.
Some young people active in the Black Lives Matter.
He was all right. Hold on. There we go. This is
I was
important.
with some young people active in the Black Lives Matter.
First of all, that's just a thing that every politician makes up. I was in, Dayton, Ohio, talking to some farmers, and one of them came up and said, sir, I like your policies on immigration and the economy, but what are you gonna do about subsidies? And it's like, that didn't fucking happen. This shit is always just
Yeah.
completely made
No
up.
one said that.
Movement. Young lady comes up to me and she says, you don't understand what police do in certain black communities. You don't understand the degree to which we are terrorized. And I'm not just talking about the horrible shootings that we have seen, which have got to end, and we've got to hold police officers accountable. I'm just talking about everyday activities where police officers are bullying people.
All right, fair enough so far, right? Nothing really wrong with that, I don't think.
No, he's just quoting someone else.
And I think I'd agree.
Those aren't even his thoughts.
So first of all, before we go into our massively overly defensive white people stuff in a minute, we'll acknowledge that yes, obviously, if you fucking have ever looked outside your own bubble, if you're from a white community, you've seen that like even poor black communities do seem to have a bigger problem with police harassment than poor white communities, even just to do it like economically like that. You know what I mean? I'll give them that. That's fine as far as I'm concerned, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Systemic racism.
Right. Got it.
So to answer your question, I would say, and I think it's similar to what the secretary said, when you're white, you don't know what it's like to be living in a ghetto.
Uh-oh.
You don't know what it's like to be poor.
Oh, no.
You don't know what it's like to be hassled when you walk down the street or
Good
you get
God.
dragged out of a car.
Holy shit.
And I believe that as a nation in the year 2016, we must be firm in making it clear. We will end institutional racism and reform a broken criminal justice system.
Okay, so before we even jump too deep into that, that's his answer to what racial blind spots do you have? How did that make sense as an answer to that question?
No, but none of them ever answer the question that they're asked. They just release their sound bites.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that I really necessarily understand the question either.
Yeah, it's supposed to produce groveling from white people. You know, it's supposed to produce like, virtue signaling, and I'm very aware of how privileged I am, and yes, sir, my perspective.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, I'm so sorry, culturally, and I will put the weights on my ankles to bring me to your level. That's basically what it's supposed to produce. Anyways, people are saying that this is taken out of context. You can't blame Bernie. He was quoting someone when he's clearly not. He says, so to answer your question, I would say, and then he says, you don't know what it's like to live in a ghetto if you're white, which, okay, let's talk about that. I would argue that if you define a ghetto by average income, crime rate, things of that nature, certainly there are white neighborhoods that would qualify, right?
Absolutely.
So if you are saying
No.
that, I mean, if the word ghetto to
There's
you,
no poor white people.
I know, we'll get into that too, but if you're saying that the term ghetto refers to black neighborhoods, isn't that sort of the racist thing to say in this situation? Is that like it's only a ghetto if people's skin color is black, even if the income is similar, the crime rate is similar, the systematic problems are similar, so it's not.
Well, no. The skin could be brown too.
Okay,
know.
could be light brown,
Yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow.
Oh, okay. I guess he pretty much is including anyone but white people. So whatever. That to
Yeah.
me, that to me is a racist way of thinking. You know. So
Yeah, only black people live in ghettos.
fully acknowledging that black communities have dealt with, in my opinion or whatever, in my perception, probably a disproportionate level of harassment and lack of accountability by their local police forces than poor white communities have. Just in what I've seen, that's kind of, I do believe that. However, saying a blanket statement that if you're white, you don't understand these problems, that's a divisive statement. And that's the whole purpose of politics in the first place, right? And that's why I don't like this guy and I say he's just more of the fucking same, is because he serves these divisive purposes very well. So
Yeah, there's nothing constructive to
there's-
be
right. And
had out of a statement like that.
is
I
there,
feel like he. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, is there any one of us on the show right now that hasn't been bullied and harassed by a cop?
No.
Anyone?
No.
And we're all white. Has anyone here...
David Box.
David Box?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So...
No. Yeah, I have been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have been.
Is there
Yeah,
anyone
police
here...
stuff.
Is there anyone here that hasn't been randomly stopped by a cop while walking down the street and searched?
I haven't been searched randomly on the street. No.
I haven't either.
Oh, well, I have.
I have.
Yeah, me and Andrea both have. These are things that happen everywhere.
I've been yelled at plenty of times,
Sure,
but
and,
never stopped and
and
searched.
bullied and
Like
threatened.
catcalled.
Yeah, the cops love that twink booty. Just walking on by.
God
David
damn
Box
it.
shaking what his mama gave him. But
Well, I mean, have you seen the way he dresses? He's asking for it.
but the whole
Slut.
point, the whole point is this: these are things that happen everywhere, and this has been my problem with the way that the anti-police movement has gone in recent years. Is like, why do you want to cut other people out of the experience? Why would you not want the message to be, hey, we all share this common enemy, rather than like, no, it's only our problem and you could never understand? And why are white people so eager to engage in that sort of groveling? You know what I mean? I don't understand. And maybe groveling isn't even the correct word there, but that's just a common word I use for, guilty whites, I guess. But what is the what is the purpose of this comment even? What is the purpose of a statement like that if it's not to be divisive?
I feel like he's probably thinking that what he's saying is white people are just not going to ever know what it's like to be black and the victim of systemic racism in the system.
He didn't say that,
And
though.
I think that no, I know he didn't say that, but he might be thinking that's what he's saying, but
He might hope someone will interpret it that way.
yeah, but I mean, that's
I-
not what he said.
Well, but to that same point, what possible answer to the question could there be that's not divisive?
I don't see Native Americans. I just can't see them. They're over, in my blind spot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what even does that question even mean?
Yeah,
What
the
are-
only answers are either divisive or pretending like you have no racial awareness whatsoever.
And if you have racial
you
blind
can't answer that in
spots,
a way that's
yeah, if you have racial blind spots, how are they blind spots if you're aware of them enough to discuss them?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I still don't
The fuck
know
does
when
that
it's
question-
appropriate to use the N-word.
The more I look at this, yeah, I can't decide when it's a joke and when I've gone too far. Yeah,
Is it okay to laugh when someone says it to me if they're black? I don't know these things.
if a black person calls me the N-word, is it okay if I respond? Or am I contributing to the systemic racism that has oppressed their culture these hundreds of years?
that's a pretty good Bernie.
I was working on it a little earlier. I'm still only half-assing
Yeah, I
it.
can tell.
I don't want to totally
Yeah.
go for it because I might sound stupid.
That's
that's
you at
really
your
not very
best.
good.
and
Well, you might sound
like
racist.
You sound like an asshole.
That's actually the key to performance. Always be reserved and unsure of yourself. That's how you entertain the nice folks. But anyways,
Okay, so-
fair point about whatever white people may not be able to understand about being black, albeit an obvious point. That I feel like is kind of beneath us as a nation. Or I would hope that fucking at this point we don't need to be pointed out that there are different races and we have cultural misunderstandings. So good for you. But it's more this idea of this blanket statement I think is just purposely divisive, and that's why I think he's just another fucking shill. I really do.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about so when this quote came back to bite Bernie Sanders in the ass a little bit, the Democratic side of things reframed the quote to make it seem like he wasn't answering the question. That when he says, let's see, they omit the sentence that says to answer your question, and then they say, you don't know what it's like to be living in a ghetto and be poor. You don't know what it's like to be hassled when you walk down the street or get dragged out of a car. And they try to make it seem like that is the continuation
Of the quote.
of his paraphrasing of what the black said.
That I've seen several times, like publications that I guess are like lefties are publishing the quote, purposely leaving out the sentence. Yeah, so to answer your question, I would say, and they just cut that out. That's just
Right.
so fucking.
And they also cut out the part where he says, as a white person, you don't know what it's like to be poor.
right.
Yeah, and this whole campaign is run on this 99% against the super rich. Like, you can't say everyone's poor and sick of it and then be like, well,
Well, only black people are
only
poor.
black people know what it's like to be poor.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like and that's again. It's why I don't fucking like him. It's just not a consistent message of us all sharing a common enemy. Which I would like. And he said, I whatever. He's got plenty of his fucking things that he says the right things about. He's against the TPP and blah blah blah, and talks about the Federal Reserve and pharmaceutical companies and this and that.
Big Bang.
Sure,
And,
but
yeah.
why wouldn't you at this point when most of the country is more interested in those topics than the ones they try to force down your throat on TV? So you see YouTube videos
Vinny.
about all those topics that have fucking 40 million views on them. We're all watching that shit, So of course they're gonna need a politician to step up and go, I care about all that too, What?
Specifically, which common enemy are you?
Oh, I'm
Are you
just saying
referring
that
to the
the
super-
system?
the
No.
police?
I'm more talking about the system that doesn't work for us, And instead of buying into the idea that one side or the other is going to save you, we could maybe unite under the idea that we need to totally reform the fucking thing because it doesn't work for any of us.
Right. But that wouldn't make sense for Bernie Sanders to talk about.
That's what
Because he's trying to be king
exactly.
of that system.
Exactly. You know who talked like that? Huh? Who was it? Come on, give it to me. No?
JFK?
No, Ron Paul.
Stalin?
Ron Paul.
Oh.
And that's why I totally
Stalin.
that's why I totally
Hitler?
that's why I
Hitler
totally
did, though.
all right, fuck. That's why I totally get where the Bernie people are coming from, because I remember the Ron Paul experience, and I remember feeling like this is our last fucking chance. If Ron Paul doesn't win this election, this country is going to fucking hell. And that's how Bernie people feel, you know? So I totally get it.
Yeah.
I get the passion. I get the idea that a lot of Bernie supporters are anti-establishment people that just think, oh, holy shit, here's the real article, or the genuine article finally, someone who I would actually vote for. I'm going to give this all I've got. I just am past the point of believing that shit anymore after I saw what happened with Ron Paul, you know?
I totally get that, and I agree to an extent, but I have a feeling that if Bernie wins, that I'll have sort of a sigh of relief, even if he makes no difference and ends up being the most evil. At least the voting people will have shared with the world what it is they want. You know, he's
Yeah, but look what's happening.
if he
Look what's happening with the delegates and stuff, and Hillary's basically going to take this election when, if you go out and about and even online and stuff, where are these Hillary supporters? Who the fuck are they? Where are they?
I have never met one.
I've never met any of them. Every person I've ever met is fuck the Clintons and the Bushes. That's enough, okay? Hasn't it been enough? Jesus fucking Christ. Aren't we at least trying to keep up the illusion that this isn't a monarchy? What the fuck, man? That's how most people out there feel. Maybe a few less fucks.
Yeah, you know, I haven't realized it until right now, but I have never met a single person with one positive thing to say about Hillary Clinton.
Right, so you
and
got
the pictures of her rallies are like 16 people,
Right.
and it's all just the paparazzi, and that's it.
And Bernie Sanders is fucking filling up stadiums, you know. So,
Yeah.
what is going on is that Hillary Clinton has had a lot of time to make a lot of friends and probably, you know, get a lot of dirt on a lot of people and put a lot of operatives in place. And in the Democratic Party, remember when we were talking about months and months ago how some of the Democratic what are they called? In every city they have their headquarters, whatever, the Democratic Party headquarters, we'll call it, something like that. How Hillary had her campaign headquarters in the same building attached to the Democratic campaign headquarters, the party headquarters. So while they're supposedly going, hey, we got all these choices, all of her people are already fucking, you know, doing everything they can to make sure she's gonna be the nominee in a covert, corrupt way. And look, I mean, dude, what sense does the delegate system make to anyone? Does that anyone? I mean, come on.
What
dude.
even is
Oh
that?
no, I don't even get it at all. I don't get it. Why not just have a vote and then that's it, and then you're voting?
That's kind of. I don't even really know what the justifications are. But that's been said since we were little kids.
It's to make it confusing and convoluted and easier to manipulate results in the way that they want it to. That's the only purpose for it. There's no other reason to put it in place.
That's all I see.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense for any other reason. Nothing about it makes sense except to create an illusion in which the outcome is what they always wanted.
And really, what in this age of technology, like, why the fuck we have chips in our IDs, right? At this point, nobody seems to be combating that. You know, why would it be so hard to do this stuff electronically and have one fucking, let's vote for the president. If you want to vote for a president, which I don't even fucking want to do, but if you guys want to go out and do it, let's just vote one day. Why does it have to be this? Why does it have to be this massively complicated system of steps and blah blah blah? Like, you know, it's ridiculous, and you know that it's basically to make sure, like Andrea said, that things are convoluted and that the people don't really get what they want. Because what would be wrong if there was 4 fucking Republicans running, 4 Democrats, some Libertarians, some Green Party, blah blah blah? What the fuck? What would be wrong with that? One vote.
Yeah, I
Why-
wouldn't see anything wrong with that. But
why
it's so
can't-
much more difficult to control, you know?
Why can't we just electronically vote on the policies? You know, why
Why do we need a
why can't we-
president?
Yeah, why don't we bypass the leader and just get an America app and just like, hey, here's today's issue. What do you think?
Well,
Cast
dude,
your vote.
Talking about that for years.
No,
Why
I
is
thought,
that
yeah.
not a
You had
thing?
before we even started dating.
That's the real way to give people the power. And like the only hang up that has been there in the past is that there wasn't the technology in place to do it.
And it also
it's
makes,
like-
I think theoretically, it makes fraud a lot easier. But there's massive evidence of fraud in every single election already. What the fuck? Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares?
But
Then also you get like factions of people, and maybe that would like be a war thing. Who polices a world like that where everyone's sort of just like in charge in their own little way?
Well,
Do you need police?
who's policing the world now? Are they doing a good job? And who's, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
I don't know, dude. To me, it's completely outdated in terms of like, you know, at one time you really had to send somebody to the Capitol to eloquently argue for the resources you might need, or the help from the federal government, or the things you don't like, because writing letters back and forth took fucking weeks to get them places, and you know what I mean. So there was a need to send a guy who understood your area and understood all the problems that you wanted communicated to the federal government to somewhere to argue for you. I understand, but aren't we like 75 years past the need for that? You know what I mean? Like, with
At
the amount of
least.
communication that we have now, you're totally right. We should be able to just individually vote on policies as a country and amendments and things like that. We don't really need these fucking cock blockers, you know?
Yeah, cock blockers.
Yeah, we want to fuck the Constitution ourselves. Want to shoot some wads on it. Am I right?
Oh yeah. That Constitution. Mm.
All right, so where are we going? Where are we going from here?
I don't know. I forget what happened.
I think we covered the.
Oh,
white-
I have
Did we do enough on the white people thing? There's actually twice as many white people as black people. Blah blah blah. But a much higher percentage of the black population is in poverty than the percentage of the white poverty or population in poverty. Yeah,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. But still, what does that matter? There's still twice as many white people in poverty. And by the way, half of those fucking people on both sides are making money off the books, and a lot of people who are in poverty on paper aren't actually living in poverty per se. So whatever. All these statistics, like most statistics,
True.
are subject to misleading idiosyncrasies. So whatever. But it's
since
still
we're on the radio, you guys
what?
weren't able to see that Katie said true and then waggled her eyebrows like she falls into that category. Just want everyone to know that.
Oh, do you? You're a fucking disgrace. So
Has Bernie responded to the people getting pissed off at him about
All
this quote? Has he like tried to backpedal and save himself, or?
he did it in like a vague way, where he kind of said, you know, when I say ghettos, that's a word that's traditionally used for African American neighborhoods. So that's even more to my point before of like, you're a Jew. Don't you know that Jews were put in ghettos? Don't you know there was fucking Irish ghettos, Italian ghettos, blah, blah, blah. The word ghetto is not fucking specific to black people in the United States. It's just stupid. It's just a dumb thing
The
to
word
say.
ghetto?
Yeah.
The word ghetto is Italian for noisy, and it is generally meant to refer to a crowded neighborhood.
Okay, whatever. But it's
What
been...
if he was saying that was his blind spot? I would say my blind spot is
that
that
I-
white people will never know what it's like to live in a ghetto and be poor, because I just can't see that.
Here's something... I'm about to say something stupid. Like he just meant it that way.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know, at the end of the day, It's a fucking dumb thing to say. It's a pandering thing to say. And whatever. Who gives a shit? On to the Donald Trump circus. Did you guys see the video of the protesters that got thrown out of his thing? There was I don't know where it was. Andrea, do you have the info on it?
We're moving on to Trump?
Yeah.
No, we're still on Bernie.
Oh, we are?
We were going to talk about taxes.
Oh, fuck.
But we can
okay.
move on to Trump.
Whatever. Let's do the tax thing really quick then. I guess we can do that real quick, and then we'll talk about that other video.
Okay. So everyone's real mad because Bernie Sanders is going to make them pay a bunch of money out of their income. And Vinny, you were talking about this the other day.
Yeah,
the
I don't
brackets that they're using.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I drew the line a long time ago. Our government has proven time and time again that they're not going to fucking use our money properly. They're going to use it against us in a lot of ways. Stop giving them fucking money. Stop acting like this fucking system can be fixed. That's as nuanced as I need to be, basically, on this whole topic. I don't want to see it. I don't care who the money comes from. I don't want it going to our fucking insane vampire government. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, who has proven time and again that they're not going to do anything with it.
And not going to do anything.
Well, and here's the other thing that everyone seems to be ignoring is that the president is not able to introduce tax legislation.
Okay.
That's not allowed.
Of course.
The president cannot do that. It has to come from the House, I think.
His appointed officials.
Yeah, but that's like a hugely overlooked thing whenever presidential candidates talk about taxes. They literally can't do anything unless it starts from the bottom, and then all they can do is approve it. Right. So obviously they can influence their people who are there, but
they can no, they can veto, and then it goes back, and if they get more than 2/3 of the Congress to vote that it blah blah blah. Sorry.
Checks and balances.
Yes, it works very well, Andrea. Young
well,
Andrea.
That's my whole point.
You're so naive.
Anyways, I don't know anything.
Run down some of the tax stuff really quick. I gotta go close it. Fucking stupid cats open the door, and there's this really loud air conditioner outside. So I'll be right back.
Oh, good. Okay, well, the tax brackets that they're using, the incomes that determine your change in tax rates, are huge. The gaps between each pay rate are huge. So income anywhere between $0 and $18,000 would be one bracket, and their total wage tax would increase 9%.
Whoa.
Then the next bracket is $18,000 to $75,000. That's the next bracket that they're using. That is like a huge.
No, that makes
huge.
sense. That makes sense. If you've ever lived off 20 grand a year for a few years, you know that's a lot like making 75,000. The differences are negligible.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I have no problem, paying my fair share, of course.
Right.
But what's that tax
Dude,
increase?
why? And if he's championing the fucking the poor people and the middle class, stop. What percentage does he take if you make 20 grand a year now? In the plan?
It'll be 39.1%.
No. 20
between income tax and payroll tax.
What? Really?
Yeah, 39.1%. As of right now, between income tax and payroll tax, the total wage tax for $18,000 to $75,000 is 30.3%. So that would be another 9% increase.
Wait, so what? As a worker, you pay payroll tax? No, that's for employers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then it's 15%. And then he's only increasing out of your income tax. It would only be a 2.2% increase.
Okay.
Oh.
You'd go from 15% to 17.2%.
What I've experienced of my paychecks, it was always around 17%, and then you'd get some measly refund at the end of the year. But so you're the champion of the poor and the middle class, and you don't recognize that taking 15 to 20% of somebody's money who doesn't, even if you didn't take that, wouldn't even be making enough to have a normal okay life. You think that's right? That's fucking insane. Why is that? If he's the guy that's going to alleviate this stuff, stop taking take fucking 8%. something. What the fuck? What? How is this supposed
Yeah.
to be such a relief for poor and like lower middle class people?
Now he claims, I don't know, like he claims that the money would be saved by not like you would end up with the same amount of money because you wouldn't be paying insurance premiums, co-pays, other things relating to medical care. But it's like how often does that person go to the doctor? What are the figures that you used to average what's happening? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. But okay.
Well, it varies for a lot of people.
Right,
you know?
exactly. But he claims that it evens out. But
But it's not just the healthcare; it's also the college tuition,
Oh yeah.
which is
what-
another thing because okay,
which buries people in debt until they're like old people. So
yeah, that's fine, but you want to subsidize education and put the government further into universities and colleges? You know that government paying for your college means that they get to determine where you go, what you learn, what your curriculum is, what you have to achieve while you're there.
And even
it's
if
not
that's
a
even
free
if
ride.
It's like going to high school again.
hey,
Yeah.
even if that's not true, because I'm sure some people will say that that's not true, that they're not going to be able to control that much of it. But whatever, even if it isn't, the idea to me is that already we have this fucking gatekeeper situation, where universities are the gatekeeper to a good life, and if you don't buy into this system, you're not going to get the fucking certificate that allows you to have that job that makes you enough money to be semi-comfortable that a lot of us don't have,
Right.
So
Well,
instead
but
of trying to,
the
instead
other
of,
part of
but
it-
hold on, while now education has become completely free. If you don't look at education as a certificate, if you look at education as knowledge, with the internet, it is pretty much completely free. I guess the cost of a fucking Comcast bill, whatever. Instead of realizing we're moving past this archaic notion that we need to send people into buildings to receive certificates so they can have access to a better life, and we need to redefine the way that we pay these fucking massively corrupt institutions to do that. Why not look towards reforming education and our whole view on education to make it so that we don't need to buy education? You know what I mean? If you're and by the way, that's an awfully fucking that's an awfully obvious point for a so-called socialist to overlook. If socialism is about providing
Right.
better, less expensive products to society, and making things easier and having people share more of the necessities, why not work towards a culture of free education then? What the God, I hate man. Okay.
Well, and that extends to healthcare too, in which he's drumming up this budget to pay for like a single payer healthcare based on what it costs now, instead of saying, well, let's just make everything less expensive. Let's get the stranglehold out of the pharmaceutical companies' hands.
I think to
Let's
be fair,
make these things affordable. Let's say that.
to be fair, he also does talk about that stuff. He's not also Bernie Sanders. I've been looking a little bit more into him because a lot of people have told me, look, he's not just the guy you've seen in campaigns and blah blah blah, or debates and during this campaign and in rallies. He's done a lot of radio. He's done a lot of other little stuff, and he does talk about. But he's very good at identifying problems. You ever notice that? He's very good at calling things out that are problems and then just going, and we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix. Notice in one
Trust me.
in one blanket statement he declares, and we're gonna fix the problems of systemic racism in law enforcement. It's like, what? Yar? How?
by shooting hateful cops in the head.
Yeah, remember his original idea was to have more
Well,
cops.
not my vote.
He wanted more cops to racially match the communities they were patrolling. Like, all right. Something happened. Okay.
Sounds like segregation to me.
Yeah, exactly. I think we already made all the jokes. But
Well,
go ahead. Whatever I was talking about, I'm just saying, he does. I think he does go into, a lot more specifics with the pharmaceutical company than he does in debates. But go ahead.
with what?
I don't know
I
whatever
didn't
the
have
fuck you were
anything to
saying. Because I like interrupted you to say that.
Oh, I was going to go back to the cop thing, in which, you know, his idea kind of aligns with my idea, which is to make cops patrol their own neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's not blacks patrolling blacks. It's like the
It's
cop
neighbors
patrolling
patrolling neighbors.
Yeah, neighbor to neighbor kind of thing.
Well, I like that idea.
So if you're a dick,
You
when you
guys
go
are
to
all
church on
Stalin.
Sunday, everyone's, mad at you. What?
Nothing. I said you guys are all Stalin. Now that just started to sound creepy. Neighbors patrolling neighbors. Everyone,
If you see something, say something.
everyone's spying on each other. No, I think the answer to fucking law enforcement, and I don't know how we figure it out in terms of all like deciding how it gets paid for, but I think that private security is cheaper, better, and like all around better in every single way.
More effective.
More
Yeah. We've
effective,
talked about a million things on the show.
less potential for corruption because there's really not a lot of purpose for it. They have more of an interest in keeping people happy because if they're competing for fucking business. Right now, we have a monopoly on, and it's the Bureau of Law Enforcement, and it's fucking your police station in your town, and you don't have any choice if you want to pay for that service or not. Well, they drive around and give everyone seatbelt tickets and arrest you for weed. And I'm not saying drunk driving is a good thing, but anyone who's had a DUI knows it's not fucking fair what they do to people, and it's just really ridiculous that the average town experiences 90% negative effects from police, but most people can't wrap their head around the idea that, a company that had an interest in satisfying you and keeping you as a customer might be a better situation.
Yeah, and I think that there are more places in the country that have the option than they realize. Like where we live, we wouldn't be able to fire our police department. But in big cities, we've covered it on the show, where they can, fire their, they can choose not to pay their sheriff or their comptroller or whoever it is that controls the police. Comptroller is an accountant, I think, actually.
Yeah.
We were all about to
but
ask.
they can choose not to pay them and forfeit the patrol privileges of having the police in their neighborhood, just like in Sharpstown in Houston, where they fired their police department, hired private security, and saw a 60-something% decrease in crime in less than a year. So
Right.
I think the option exists in more places than people realize.
Why isn't that an option in our community?
Because Sharpstown is part of a larger municipal area. So it's the Houston police that would be patrolling there. But they can say, we're not going to pay, this neighborhood's not going to pay you to do that anymore. So I think that maybe larger homeowners associations can do it, or I don't know.
It's just
But
a
it
change of
wouldn't happen.
jurisdiction. Like, they're still Houston police. They're just no longer patrolling that one neighborhood.
Yeah, and when serious violent crime occurs or anything that actually warrants an arrest, the security team will detain the person and then call the actual police to come get them. But the difference is that the police isn't patrolling, trying to catch people for weed,
And no
giving
matter-
people
yeah.
seatbelt tickets.
And wherever you live, you've got
There.
you've got your local police station, which would basically could easily be replaced by a security company who worked with the sheriff's department, right?
Right.
It's all
And
set
that
up.
security
It's
company
ready
would
to
be
go.
dedicated to getting paid and keeping you happy.
All right. Anyways, I think we've made that case about 150 times on the show.
Yeah.
What are we at? Tax plan more. Okay. So it's absolutely, to me, ridiculous to take 15% of somebody's money that makes $18,000 a year. That's fucking unforgivably stupid. If you've ever had to fucking work 40 hours a week for that kind of money, you agree. I'm sure of it. You can't disagree. Because then again, what do you see from your tax dollars? Really, all you see is police harassing you. That's about the only effect I've ever had from government, you know.
How much?
What? Oh, shit. Did the fucking Skype drop? God damn it. We're about to, yeah, we lost him. I'm going to call him back. We're about to go over the video at the latest Trump rally where some Black Lives Matter, although I'm convinced that the media calls any group of black people Black Lives Matter at this point. They say they're Black Lives Matter protesters at a Trump rally. They're being thrown out, and for a fact, and it's very clear in the video, a guy, who knows who he is, I'm not sure if it's clear who he is, just walks up. He looks like a cowboy. He's kind of got a cowboy hat, flannel shirt, straight leg jeans looking guy. Walks up and just fucking punches one of the black dudes right in the face. And right after that, the cops all jump over the black guy and handcuff him. Like, we got the troublemaker right here. Are you guys back?
Almost. I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay.
We're having conductivity issues.
Well, you guys saw the video where the guy gets punched, right? And then they arrest him. The guy that gets punched gets arrested.
At the Donald Trump rally?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see the video, but I know Andrea did.
All right, well then put her on the fucking phone.
I'm not surprised. What is he, black? Is that why he got arrested?
Yeah, I think so.
Here, I'm gonna hang up because we're back. So
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, that was nice. Yeah, I am pretty sure that the only reason that the cops arrested this guy is because, you know, this looked like it was somewhere in maybe more of a rural area where, to be honest, racial tensions are very high at this point in our history. That's another interesting thing. Man, have racial relations gotten weird in the past few years. Man, I thought like we were getting somewhere and all kind of starting to understand each other, but things are fucking tense, especially in certain areas. Hey guys.
Hey,
Hi.
sorry about that.
Hi.
So it looked like it was kind of in a rural area, and I would guess that the police were basically on high alert, thinking like, oh shit, we got some darkies here. Let's make sure we keep them under control, because I've heard that they're very athletic, and they could probably do some damage if we let anything go too far. You know what I mean? I think the cops were just like racist, maybe not even racist, just country folk that are scared. You know?
Yeah.
And that
This
could,
was North Carolina.
I guess
don't know if you said that already.
that could be racist, but you know what I mean? They don't have to be like foaming at the mouth fucking Klansmen to be going like oh shit, I got some angry black guys here and I don't usually ever deal with that. I'm a fucking country bumpkin, blah blah blah. So I think that's what it was, and they're going like they're just ready for the black guys to do something. So they don't even notice that he was the one that got punched in the face. They're just like, fucking get him, some movement happened. You know what I mean? They weren't even prepared that anyone else would do something, and it didn't like even seem to register with them that the white guy was the one that fucking punched him, you know?
Okay,
They-
furthermore, wait, the white guy is a 78-year-old man named John McGraw. So it would be weird for them to assume that he was the instigator. Have you
No, but
seen
they didn't
pictures
have
of this guy?
They didn't have to assume. He did it right in front of them. But what I'm saying is the cops were so ready to jump all over the black guys if they did anything that at the first quick movement they were like, fucking get him. And it didn't really even matter what happened, you know?
Right.
What is this clip? I'm sorry, Andrea, can you play this clip for me right now? Because I have no idea what this is.
Andrea swore you guys would all watch it. She swore up and down.
I did not. This was a rally in North Carolina.
Okay, let me watch it.
So since this clip has come out, the power of the internet has identified the man who punches this protester, the 78-year-old man, and he has been arrested and charged since then.
Oh, goody.
Oh,
You see
he
it?
just punched that guy right in the face for
Oh,
no
yeah,
reason.
definitely he just walks up and hits him. Well, you know what, too?
He doesn't even walk up. He's just standing there, and the guy walks by.
He's probably
Wait, let me-
he's probably not the biggest fan of melanin, and you know he's probably an old fucking farmer that thinks like, man, why can't these people just stay in their place, you know? And it just was sitting there boiling in him for years. Finally, he's like, you know, they're disrupting an event. This is exactly why we don't need them getting any more uppity than they already are. Boom.
Yeah.
So
Take that.
And
all
the cops
everywhere.
just tackled the black guy.
I know.
They just tackled him and cuffed him.
No, it's silly.
What is happening?
Yeah. I
They're just
explained what
following
happened.
Trump's orders
Yeah.
Yeah.
because he's
Crazy.
racist.
That racist Trump. No, he had a black girlfriend one time.
Did he?
Did he?
That means he's not racist.
Did
That
you
just
look
means he
into?
wants to dominate black people.
I heard a rumor that, despite the rumors that he is like so hateful of Latinos and Mexicans and stuff, that he employs like an extremely high percentage of in his companies of Latinos, and that actually a lot of people have advanced throughout his companies from low positions to high positions, and there's like Latino CEOs and blah 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 and all this kind of shit. That's just a thing I heard. Did you look into that?
Yeah, I didn't find an exact percentage, but he does employ hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at all levels of his companies, including legals and illegals. So
Yeah, so that's kind of a
Yeah, because
Because
really,
who's going to work for that cheap, you know?
well,
other
part
than
of
those
it,
guys?
part of it, you know what though? Part of it is he has so many construction endeavors, and construction teams generally have a very high percentage of Latino people working for them. But the fact that he promotes from
Latino.
within means that these people often rise up through the companies and end up in very powerful positions.
and that's
I
not
would like to.
Hey, can you turn Katie's preamp down? She's way too loud. Or you just have a tendency to yell and then whisper.
Stop
So,
yelling.
No, I'm not yelling or whispering.
all right, go ahead.
I would like to say though that do you really think that Donald Trump himself does the actual hiring of construction workers and maids in his hotels
No,
and then also promotes them? And I mean, it's ridiculous to think that he has anything to do with hiring or promoting any of his employees in any of the businesses.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely somebody else's job.
that
When
is
the
Yeah.
question was asked, he leaned over to his constituents and was like, "Do we have any Latinos?" And they're like, "Oh shit, I'll go find out." And they were like, "Yeah, well, it turns out we do have a couple." Yeah, see, I love Latinos.
no, it is true, but you know, he could be someone who said, "Hey, I don't want to have any undocumented illegal workers at all." And it doesn't seem like he's done
No,
that.
but why
And
would he
also
say that? Because that doesn't make fiscal sense.
There are plenty of companies that you'll find all brown people in the bottom levels and all white people in the top levels, and it doesn't sound like we have that situation either, you know. So
Right.
that's all I'm saying. It's just it would make fiscal sense if you didn't want to be, you know, hounded and fined and stuff for undocumented workers, which also happens.
I have never had a job that didn't have undocumented workers at it.
Yeah, well,
Not one. I've never worked at a place that was
I have.
like that.
I've worked for guys that refuse to do that, and I understood that. You know why they're like, that was their belief. Like I think that it's really becoming a fucking problem. All this off the books money, and it drives wages down and blah blah blah. And like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
Was
So,
that in Chicago?
yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think. There have been a couple.
Yeah, I was
places.
gonna say it's probably
Actually,
more
and-
rare up here. but-
and one in New Orleans too. But that was back before there were very many Mexicans here at all, so that was a lot easier. Anyways, whatever. Moving on. What else about Donald Trump? We were talking about it earlier, before we were on the show, and I think I was just saying that I sound like I defend him more than Bernie Sanders because I just see so much rampant demonization that I try not to like jump on bandwagons like that, you know what I mean? And when I see someone who's
Yeah.
like universally hated and demonized by almost everyone I know, it makes me interested to find virtue in that person or thought or idea, you know. That's how we got into the flat earth. Like everyone thinks this is retarded, yet there's this driving core behind it. So there must be something to it, so maybe I'll make an effort to understand it, you know. That's kind of what I'm doing here. And I do think that Donald Trump is, like I was saying earlier, just sort of a reflection of a lot of the shitty parts of this society, you know. And I think he's kind of a guy that resonates in a time and a place full of greed and confusion. And, you know, he really is a product of American culture more than anything else. So it's kind of an interesting...
Well, and I think he
No, just go ahead.
I think he has a smart manipulation of the spectacle that he is. I think he knows the right way to keep people talking about him, whether it's genuine or not. Because one thing about him is nobody can resist talking about him
It's
on
true.
either side. All
Yeah.
day, every day, it's Trump, 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 whether you love him or you hate him. And people tend to feel the most strongly about him on one side or the other.
Well, and like also
More
like, you know,
I'm sorry, we have a Canadian running for president on the Republican side,
Nobody cares.
and
I know.
nobody cares.
isn't it? But
Not
speaking
one,
of
it's
him,
never even mentioned. What happens if he gets elected? Are they going to let him be president?
is that
Probably.
is that Rubio?
Cruz.
Or
Cruz.
Cruz, that's right. Okay. Sorry. So aren't you though, like I was, again, we kind of had this whole conversation before we started the show. We should have been recording, but aren't you sick of this whole parade of guys in suits pretending to be perfectly morally superior family men who are, virtuous in this way and that way? And aren't you a little bit refreshed by the guy that's just like, yeah, I don't care about any of that. Just doesn't
Yeah,
give a
maybe
fuck.
if he
Like,
wasn't. I mean, maybe I would be refreshed by that if he wasn't such a dick to everybody. I mean, he's just so insulting all the time.
I know.
Like
He's
he's
a
just
big
this
fumbling
constant,
baby.
just constantly insulting people. Like maybe it would be okay if he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be honest here. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I am not a politician. I'm a businessman.
He
And I
just
mean,
said-
if he was nice about it,
He just-
yeah,
he
he
just-
says that.
He just said that in the last debate, and I was actually thinking when he said it that he sounded like a really nice old man when he was saying that line. He's like, I'm not or I would hope that you don't think of me as a politician, and I've blah blah blah. He sounded like he was nice when he was saying it.
No, dude.
You just have a crush on him.
Not even.
Yeah,
You wish he was your dad.
that was just in the last debate. You should listen to it. He actually
All
sounded.
right. Well, 99% of the other things that he said have been horribly insulting and just moronically. I mean,
I know, but what?
I don't know.
What?
I
What
just
you?
can't.
But hold on, what would you be tuning into the debate to see? Some one of these fucking geniuses spew some philosophy that really was enlightening, or say something really intelligent about government? Like, no, you're just gonna get a bunch of bullshit and vague rhetoric from either side anyways, and a bunch of acting and pretending. I just appreciate the fact that there's one real mess of a person up there,
I don't know if that's true, though. I think that I don't think he's genuine. I think that he is a disingenuous manipulation
He's
of the
a
attention that
character.
he's getting.
Yeah.
He's a caricature.
He's an
is what is what
entertainer.
he is.
If you watch him in his old wrestling thing, like,
Yeah.
the guy has experience acting, and I'm sure that he has coaches and everything, just like any of the candidates.
Of course.
He's not up there just being raw. All of this stuff is programmed in his head before he.
Dude, if you watch a
goes
lot
to
of
the
it,
vote.
it seems like that more than I've ever seen. There is a lot more just raw reaction and ad-libbing going on, and like.
Do you think? Because I think that he's like a masterful creator of sound bites and knows how to keep people talking about him more than he knows what he thinks about things.
I don't know. I've also not really heard him say anything like all that bright or anything like that. I just think it's
I
interesting.
know words. I know all the best words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
remember
said
that one?
I just think it's interesting that people
I can think of like 4 words right now.
and people spot. All right, so it's interesting to me that people so readily disregard him as a racist or a fascist when I don't see that at all, and I don't get why that's the prevailing viewpoint when you could probably find hundreds of actually legitimate reasons not to like him. It's like I don't see the racism thing and the bigotry thing that everybody keeps talking about. Do you guys?
I feel like that might have been my knee-jerk reaction to some of the things that he said, but and we should have saved the conversation that we had before the show for the show. But
Yeah.
I think that the way that he says things when he might be telling the truth or have the truth behind it, I think the way that he chooses to say things and phrase them, I can understand why you might look at it either way depending on where you're already sitting. You
Right,
know?
which is
People who support him are going to be like,
it's another sophisticated
just
political trick that a lot of politicians use, is leaving things kind of open-ended because they might want support from groups that they're not going to directly go after. And like we said before, he might be doing subtle things so that he doesn't alienate people who are actually racist. When the things he says aren't actually racist, he still might attract the ear of those people, is basically what you're saying, right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
And like I think that's kind of his problem, is that even if he's not a racist, the way that he carries himself and the way that he acts and responds to criticism when he gets called out during those debates, he turns into a fucking spoiled brat. You know, he's like a toddler in a suit,
but
throwing a fucking tantrum.
But here's the alternative. Every other politician out there would just smile awkwardly and start sweating. So those are the two those are the two things we get. So I don't know, dude. Give me Daffy Duck. I'll take it. You know? It's fine with me.
I want to talk about when he was asked about, let's see, he made some comments about waterboarding not too long ago, about how he thinks waterboarding is totally fine, and that if we want to go stronger with torture, we should do that. And so they asked him, what would you do as commander-in-chief if the U.S. military refused to carry out illegal orders? So any orders that he gave that go against the Constitution, because allegedly the military is trained to turn down and refuse illegal orders. So they said, what would you do if the U.S. military refused to carry out your illegal orders? And his answer was, they won't refuse. They're not going to refuse me, believe me.
Well, the thing...
He's insane.
No, but there's another way of looking at that, see, is that, you know, it's easy to just go, oh, that's crazy, but what if, you know, he just realizes that that's true, is that every administration has done illegal things with the military, technically illegal things with the military, and every fucking conflict that we have, vets come back and form organizations that are anti-war because they've seen it and they regret the things they did and they followed illegal orders, you know. I've talked to Oath Keepers guys at protests before. These are some very humbled, you know, very, very interesting people, because these are a lot of guys that served and saw the horrors and did things they wish they didn't do because they followed orders, and are now trying to promote the basic idea that you take an oath. So if you get an order that defies that oath, you know, you have the obligation to not follow it. And that's basically their whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
and they are a teeny tiny percent of the people who are actually part of the military.
So while it is a fucking asshole thing to say, it's another thing that's true. You know? They will.
And then he points out, he says, can you imagine these people, these animals over in the Middle East that chop off heads, sitting around and talking and seeing that we're having a hard problem with waterboarding? We should go for waterboarding, and we should go tougher than waterboarding. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And I understand, but see, here's the thing. If you believe that we should be fighting a war against terrorism, which I don't think any of us believe that, although it's gotten a fuckload more complicated than it was 10 years ago, when you could basically say, hey, the only terrorism we've experienced looks like it's been created and controlled by Western intelligence, right? It doesn't
manufactured.
Yeah, and it seems a lot more organic now, doesn't it? Even though the stuff is started by Mossad and CIA and you know whoever else, the fucking
Mossad,
KGB. Yeah, isn't that the name of the Israel intelligence agency?
Mossad, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
I thought you were going for Assad there, and I was like, huh?
No. So anyways, you know, even though ISIS and whatever else may have been started by that, doesn't it seem like more so than 10 years ago we're dealing with like a lot more organic terrorism, is only my point, I guess.
Yeah, actually, in the past few years is the first time that I can remember seeing news about people from England and people from America and people from first world quote unquote Christian countries
I guess I should
defecting and trying to join ISIS.
Yeah, I guess I should say Islamic terrorism, specifically. So
Right.
So whatever.
Yeah.
Even though there's always been real cells out there, now it seems like it's vague whether or not there might actually be a threat to the U.S. that's not totally fucking controlled by the CIA. So, anyways, if you do buy into that and you think, hey, we are fighting now a real war against terror, I totally get why you go, well, fuck this. They are animals. I mean, fuck, you're out there cutting people's heads off and burning people alive. And fucking punishing women for getting raped and all this bullshit, dude, you're a fucking baboon. You're worthless to fucking the human race, and you should be fucking eradicated somehow. I get that. Don't you get that feeling, But is it our job to be over there? Is it our fucking, when our country's in such a state of disrepair, or is it really our job to send our fucking kids there to die for what? Really? Especially when we're not actually there because our government gives a fuck whatsoever about anyone's life. We're there for strictly monetary purposes. Right. Everybody's got it, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I know that was a big, weird, fucking winding road there, but I guess my point is if you buy into it, I get wanting to torture terrorists or people who hide terrorists or things like that, So it's a war. What do you want it to be like?
Civil.
Yeah, nicer.
Yeah. Don't worry, David Box. You might get your wish the way things are going here.
Yeah.
Get it? So.
Yeah, how about we just give half the country to Bernie and half the country to Trump, and then whoever wins, wins. I mean, let's duke it out.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Just do it like a soccer fight. Everybody just meet in Nebraska. Fucking and one person from
Bring your chains.
One person stands on the side and films it for YouTube.
Yeah.
You have all the
Good
aggressive
old-fashioned rumble.
Yeah.
all the aggressive assholes with tiny hands and tiny dicks on one side, and then all of the passive Jews on the other.
All right.
Who would win that?
I'm going to play this dumb. What is this? Steel drums.
Distorting.
That's only for you guys. Oh, there we go. Yeah,
Tropical.
I had everything torn apart on the board. This doesn't sound the best, but it's what you got for the break here on the Overdose. We'll be back in a minute. Holy shit, I'm bringing it back on the Overdose Talk Show. I don't know if they know we're back. I didn't have
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, I didn't have the phones on, and I guess a couple of people tried to call. You know how it is. Phones are always jammed here on the Overdose.
Jammed up.
A lot of people trying to weigh in. The number is 630-599-RUBS. We'll decide. 630-599-RUBS. If you want to join the conversation live here on Ustream.
I forgot about
Rubs.
that.
I got the Skype. It'll be up. Yep, there it is. You can call us right up on that line.
Hey, I just want to share that I just discovered that I can read Italian.
Yeah, it's very similar to Spanish, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it?
No idea what it says, but she recognizes the letters.
Shut up.
She can make the sound. She's sounding it out.
I know all these letters. That means I can read. So I think we're done with the Trump stuff for tonight. Let's move on to Hillary and dispense of that because we've got a lot to do still tonight. We've got a lot going on here. What did we have?
Andrea's dispensing of some urine, so she'll be right back.
Still? Jiminy
Yeah.
Christmas.
She's got a lot of urine.
Yeah.
What do you want from her?
We had a video here about it basically kind of just shows you how this stuff works between politicians and the media. It's basically they don't realize their mic is live and the reporter for MSNBC is telling who is this, campaign manager or something for Hillary, what she's going to ask her about, basically, as you'll see here.
To Kristen Welker. Kristen, go ahead. He's okay. Okay. And I'm going to ask you about Flint.
Kristen, go ahead. You're live. Kristen Welker in the spin room. I believe she has the Clinton communications director with her. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay.
This fucking stiff reporter with his red, white, and blue tie. Ugh, God. And his moosed hair. His gray lawyer suit. Hey, we're live here. Okay, come on. Stop giving away the whole gag. Kristen, you're ruining everything, Kristen.
Thank you.
You stupid bitch. Come on.
She spilled my coffee.
Kristen.
Okay, thank you. I think this is his last question.
We have Kristen Welker. We're looking at her. She couldn't quite hear me before. Can you hear me now? If you can, go ahead.
Hey, Ari, I'm here with Communications Director Jen Palmieri for the Clinton campaign. So, Jen, your initial reaction to tonight's debate, very fiery.
All right.
Very fiery.
I guess
also
that's about
very
it.
Substantive. I think it was probably...
So what happened exactly?
What, you confused, Box? Huh?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't hear. So wait, the reporter just said, "Here's what I'm going to ask you about."
It's right at the beginning, and you hear her go, and I'm going to ask you about Flint. So it doesn't seem like she's giving away too much. She's just kind of going, these are the topics I'm going to talk about, which almost seems like a basic courtesy before you interview somebody.
I was going to say that I feel like
You
that's
know,
pretty standard television practice.
It doesn't seem like she's going, here's exactly what I'm going to ask you. She's kind of running down what topics they're going to go over. You'll hear it.
Much. We go right to Kristen Welker. Kristen, go ahead.
He's... Okay. Okay. And I'm going to ask you about Flint.
Kristen, go ahead. You're live.
That's about it right there. And I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
about Flint.
So is the criticism, like, is she being criticized for shooting her wad too early, or is that like supposed to give the person answering the question enough heads up?
They're framing it as though it's like we've caught them feeding the questions before they asked them on live TV.
That's
it's
the
called a
stupidest thing.
pre-interview,
Yeah.
so the TV program doesn't suck.
Right, basically. But it sucked anyways. Kristen? Are you there, Kristen? Kristen can't hear us. So, yeah, I don't know. We had that. What else about Hillary? David Box, you were talking about her earlier before the show. What were you saying? That
I don't...
Something about how she used to look one way and...
Oh, yeah. When you see pictures of her when she's just a young lawyer, she's got, like, glasses, and she looks like a total nerdlinger.
Mm-hmm.
And when you compare it to what she is now, she's just, like, got gobs of makeup and is a totally processed human being and, like, an image that's been manufactured instead of what she actually is. Like, she's been engineered to run for president, and, like, that's not what she really ever looked like.
I need someone who can shave my scales off. They keep growing back. I'm going to need my tail clipped.
This human skin suit is getting all saggy.
Yeah, dude, her reptilian bone structure is just bulging out the back, and her back skin is splitting. Who's going to sew my back skin back together while I'm on the campaign trail? What is... Did she always talk with that, like... And I'm gonna... Like that fucking really annoying grandma with too much confidence voice?
I actually heard a clip the other day. I was listening to NPR, and they have this thing that's called whatever. I like it. It's called First Mention, where they like look for like the first time a certain person has appeared on NPR or whatever. And so they were doing Hillary Clinton, and they found it was from like the late 80s or something, early 90s. And there was a clip of her, and she was in Texas talking to Texas people, and she had all of a sudden a Texas accent.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we've covered that extensively on this show.
Oh.
No, that's not the one.
Oh, no?
Yeah. No, and nobody said anything about it
Yeah.
either. But she was like, well, I'm going to be rooting for the Texas. Well, I don't know. They asked her about a football game or something.
She's the biggest offender of changing her accent as she goes around to different parts of the country. She always does that.
Yeah.
Hold on, and now I'm fucking completely obligated to play a video here from YouTube. Oh, well, here's one called Hillary's Negro Dialect. from SGT Heartscock on YouTube. That was not what I searched for. I searched for Hillary Clinton Selma because she was in Selma, Alabama, where the the famous, I think, Martin Luther King bus petition or what did they do? They boycotted the bus company,
Yes.
right? Okay. Anyways, so it's kind of a mecca of civil rights, I guess you might call it, if you want to be a dramatic douche who didn't have a thing to say. All right.
I will be reintroducing the Count Every Vote Act to ensure that every voter is given the opportunity to vote, that every vote is counted, and each voter is given the chance to verify his or her vote before it is cast
no.
and made permanent.
This is not what we wanted.
Cleveland's great freedom hymn.
Here we go.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
Oh boy.
Is that serious?
Yeah, and she's reading from an old thing, I'm just like you, everybody. See what a regular person I am. You can trust me.
Her team is there like, no, Hillary, you're not a shapeshifter, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You're white.
And when my reptilian tail pops out, wait, hold on. I totally identify with the black plight in this country. Yes, thank you.
I am also a minority.
I can talk just like y'all.
She totally has like lizard eyes, though. That's a really good way to describe the look that's constantly on her face, which is just like completely blank and vacant.
She is
Like a snake.
Like a snake, like dead
lizardy.
snake.
She
Like she's not
is
really
lizardy.
looking at anything.
Yeah, it's a kind of creepy eye. A lot of them have.
I believe in white supremacy.
That's also her.
One of my favorites.
That is a record.
She said that?
Yeah.
So
She was trying,
yeah.
dude. She was trying to say that white supremacy is not a myth. That she's like,
it exists.
but that's
That's funny.
yeah. Instead,
interesting choice of words.
that's it was.
I believe in white supremacy.
So, and we also have, I'm going to share this on the page if anybody wants to watch it, but in last night's Univision sponsored debate in Miami, the Democratic debate, Bernie Sanders gets a standing ovation for some whatever that he says.
Oh yeah, you sent this to me. Let me pull it up
Yeah.
real quick. Go ahead.
He gets a standing ovation, and she just gets the creepiest look on her face while people are applauding him, and she starts laughing, but she laughs like a robot that's trying to be a person and
Okay.
like trying to figure out how emotions work.
She laughs and it's just like ones and zeros just coming out of her
Yeah.
mouth. She's,
Ha 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 ha.
Oh my god, this is horrible audio. Whatever, we're
Yeah,
gonna go
skip
with
ahead
it.
to like the minute mark or so because Bernie
what
talks
you-
for a long time before it happens.
I got a 30-second video that you sent me. Is that not the one?
Oh, no, then that's the right one.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, this is somebody
Then
taping.
that should just be the end of what he says.
It's just terrible. Somebody taping their TV, but we'll go with it. Whatever. Here we go.
Country in the history of the world. If we stand up, fight back, we can do a lot better. That's why I'm running for president.
Are we gonna hear her laugh or no? You couldn't really hear her laugh. You could just see
Well,
it.
I'll share the video with everybody, and I'll add it into the description on the YouTube too for anybody listening on YouTube. But it's creepy, right? I mean, you saw her.
Yeah, you just
it's
see
like
the
the-
like Just fucking like stiff-faced weirdo laugh. Yeah. Just really, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Let me try this.
I believe in white supremacy.
Oh no. Aw, Gil.
You really screwed it up this time.
I'm gonna say a lot of really vague things that sound sorta inspiring without actually offering any answers, and we can do this together.
Hope and change.
Hope, change, inspiration from an old rich Jew. Oh, man. What a bunch of clowns.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, and you know what? We haven't mentioned this in a long time, but I do want to remind everybody that Hillary Clinton helped acquit a rapist that she knew was guilty who raped a 12-year-old girl and then tried to blame it on the 12-year-old girl. So I just want to throw that out there.
What a champion for feminism.
Yeah, what a great, wonderful, just a pioneer for women's rights.
Yeah.
No, I mean, come on. Wouldn't that mean a lot to elect a person like that as, like, you know, the representative of how far women can go in society by being fucking deceptive cunts?
Yeah, nothing better.
There you go. That sounds like how she laughs.
Yeah. And then she sticks out her forked tongue. It's so infectious.
Every once in a while, I just remember that I have sound effects. I'll go like 3 or 4 shows without using any of them. I should work on a better balance across the board.
Sound effect binge.
Yeah.
I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
All right. I think that's probably enough of her, and we can go on to the new Lavoy video. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a new Lavoy video.
So, if for anyone that's
I cried so hard when I watched this.
Did you?
Yeah, twice. I watched it twice, and I cried both times, just like chest clutching pain.
Why?
I haven't watched it.
Why did you feel so strongly?
Well, I felt so strongly when I felt a similar strength of sadness when I saw the chopper footage, which had no audio, no indication of what was happening inside the vehicle, no context really besides the visual. This is a cell phone video shot inside of Lavoy's vehicle while they are being pursued. I'm like getting verklempt just thinking about it right now.
Stop
while they're
being
being
a
pursued.
Sally.
I can't help it. This I loved Lavoy. I thought he
know.
was.
Yeah, he was.
I mean,
he was a likable guy.
it's a bizarre sense of loss for me because I don't generally feel a sense of loss for people I don't know personally. But it's very emotional. It's them inside of the vehicle trying to discuss what to do in order to get to where they're trying to go.
Right.
Now,
and by the way, every part of this video basically confirms everything that Shauna Cox said from the beginning. That's
and Victoria Sharp.
Oh, it was Victoria Sharp. I'm sorry. I was getting the two. There was 2 women in the car, Shauna Cox, Victoria Sharp. You know, I mean, they're all interchangeable to me. But,
you know, whatever.
I'm
pretty sure Shauna Cox was the one.
Personally, I don't usually ask them their names. You know what I mean? You know.
Hey.
So
just call him a kid.
Yeah, just a bunch of holes to me. So it basically confirms everything Victoria Sharp said, and again disproves everything Mitch McConnell said, or not everything, I guess, because what it is what it is. You know, I mean, he was driving straight at a roadblock. Nothing that was being done to these people was fair. In as far as I think, Katie, you're all on board with this too. You understand that like this, they're part of a whole culture that's been fighting bureaucratic nonsense in hell for many years. So so nothing that was being done to these people is justified in any way whatsoever. However, when you drive at a roadblock full of cops, they shoot at you. That's just what they do. And so that's what it seems like. It's as simple as that here, and it doesn't have to be some grand conspiracy, although it might be part of one. But you have all these people that are jumping all over this saying it was a setup. They murdered them. They were shooting at him before he got out of the car. Yeah, he was kind of driving towards them at 70 miles an hour or something. So they're probably going to do that. And they're like, it's a setup. They knew exactly where to be. They were on their way to talk at a town meeting kind of thing, town hall, where there were 400 or 500 people expected. So there was no secret about where they were going. This was public knowledge,
Also, they were invited to that meeting by the sheriff. So, and you hear in the video, Lavoy says, "We're going to meet the sheriff. You guys we can deal with this when we go to the sheriff." I mean, he's like talking to the cops, trying to say, "We're going to meet the sheriff. You have to let us go because we have a meeting with him and he's in charge."
You want to listen to a little bit of this, or are you going to start crying like a bitch?
No, I'll hold it together. You can put it on.
All right, hold on. So this is what this is Victoria Sharp's cell phone footage, right?
Who are you?
And this is Lavoy yelling out the window, asking the cops who they are. They said Oregon State Police.
In Grant County. You'll come along with us, and your talk with us over there.
You can come along with us.
Put the laser right there. Put the bullet through the head.
See, these are people that are sick of dealing with this fucking kind of step pyramid of corruption where it's just, well, just come out and talk to us. And he's like, nah, I'm not going to fucking do anything. You can shoot me in the head or I'm going where I'm going. Because I'm done dealing with this little nickel and dime, kind of fucking, you know what I'm going for, little bit by bit, stealing my freedom kind of shit.
Yeah.
I don't have to stop on a highway and talk to you just because you're, whatever. Maybe I'm an idiot. You get what I'm saying.
At this point, they're stopped by a vehicle. There are police with guns pointed at them already. I think they say that.
Right, and he's just going, "Fuck you! I'm going where I'm going." Here we go. Let's see.
Okay, boys, this is going to get real. You want my blood on your hands? Get it done, because we got people to see and places to go. No, I don't. You need to back off. You need to back off.
Where in the heck is Ammon?
So at this point, Ammon is already arrested because he got out and tried to negotiate with them, and they just arrested him. Man, Lavoy is he's talking to them lawmen with some balls there, some definite nutsack on this guy.
Well, I think he believes that he has the sheriff on his side, which is why he's so adamant about getting to that meeting.
Right.
You shouldn't have ever stopped. Did Ammon?
You're wasting oxygen, son.
Where they got? What? Oh, did they have Ryan? Did they arrest him? He shouldn't have got out. He shouldn't have got out.
I'm not turning over. I'm going into Day County.
All right, so anyways, we can't play this entire thing, I don't think. But
no, it's kind of long. But basically what happens is they're stopped at the first time. You hear it's Shauna Cox that says, tell us if you're going to drive away and we'll duck because they're going to start shooting at you if you start driving.
Right. They're basically discussing what to do and they decide, let's take off. Let me find that part.
Go.
There. Takes off.
Are they shooting? Got it.
And so they seem to think they're already shooting as soon as they took off.
Yeah, well, Shauna Cox, I think, says if you drive away, they'll shoot at the tires, thinking that they would just try to immobilize them and not actually try and harm them.
Yeah. So, anyways, he's taking off down the highway. This is the footage we've all seen a million times, but now you've got the inside the car footage too. And basically what we're going to see here, and I'll pause it at the point. Did you notice this, Andrea, that you hear, so they fire a couple times as they're approaching. Obviously, there was the bullet holes in the windshield. We already went over that. And then they are definitely firing quite a bit as he's getting out of the car. So they're firing at him, and they're with his hands up, getting out of the car. You know.
Yes.
I grant them that's a moment of confusion or whatever, and who knows what the fuck they actually thought or what was going on. You know, but whatever. Then at the point that he's actually cut down, you know, the point is they've already shot at him a bunch of times. Let's see here. Here's where they crash. Man, Lavoy is like a stone cold soldier. He's just like, even as they're fucking crashing into the snowbank, he's just going like, hang on, I got it. Or some would argue a total crazy person. But like, you hear the way he's talking to that cop, he's just like, you're wasting oxygen, son.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to the sheriff.
You can come with us.
There he goes. As he exits the car, they start shooting. Car stopped.
Go ahead, shoot.
Door opens. Boom. You hear shots. That's where the video cuts out.
Immediately. What does he say as he gets out of the car, though?
He said, go ahead and shoot me. And they shoot him.
Yep.
And that's exactly what she said. So her story's been true the whole time. That fucking Mark McConnell guy is strange. He just disappeared, and nobody seems to know anything more about him. And he's the guy that said that he got out of the car and charged at him with his gun or something, right?
Yeah, he came out guns blazing and tried to run at the police.
Yeah, and that he heard that from people in the car, you know. And then he said he was going to put
which
out,
was taken as an eyewitness account. P.S.
Right, the Young Turks called it the eyewitness account, and that Victoria Sharp's actual eyewitness account was no good because she was only 18 after all.
Yeah, you can't see things or hear things when you're 18.
No, absolutely not. My hearing developed really actually into my late 20s. I started to be able to like hear around corners and stuff like that. Most of my life,
yeah, that's just starting to happen for me.
Yeah, you'll see. Hearing actually gets better as your life goes on. It's awesome. And yeah, most of my life I could only really hear in a 3-foot radius around me. It was very, very frustrating. But
it's hard. Oh, we've all gone through it.
So that whole thing was completely bullshit, and Mark McConnell I'm still very suspicious of, because he said he was going to put out follow-up videos and he was going to keep in touch with everyone, be kind of the liaison to the public for this thing, and then he just disappears.
Vanished.
Like, yeah.
Ghost.
But he
Who is he?
He was one of the guys that was at the compound. Or the compound, the fucking, Malheur.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he issued all these like conflicting statements about.
No, but he served his purpose at the time. Enough people took that story because people just read a headline that justifies their way of thinking, and they go, okay, that's how it happened. So they go, eyewitness account. I remember the headlines were eyewitness account debunks conspiracy theory about Lavoy Finicum shooting.
Yeah,
it was headlines like that, and it's like. So people generally who are opposed to that are going to remember that as true, even, because they don't do the work to go back and see how it played out. So,
yeah.
He served his purpose. Definitely.
Well,
Definitely
and everything that has come out since then has not only contradicted what he had to say, but it's contradicted the official FBI and police reports about what happened.
All right.
Has confirmed what Victoria Sharp said. So,
yeah, right. So, anyways, I think we've made the point, on previous shows and whatever. So there's what we think. But, the main thing I'm taking away from this is it kind of is what it is. These cops don't necessarily have to be in on something any larger than that situation that happened. And I'm not arguing that this may have been controlled or provoked or somehow influenced by powerful people with an agenda, and maybe to some level was a purposely staged operation of some kind. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that this particular incident, I don't see anything that necessarily indicates just like a totally a conspiratorial act, I guess.
Yes.
Would you agree?
I also think it's worth mentioning that there has been no dash cam footage released. Nothing from the police or FBI from their perspective on the ground of what was going on.
And we said from the beginning that's because they don't want the audio to show that they were shooting him as he got out of the car, and we were exactly right. That's what we just heard.
Yeah.
So there it is. I mean, but my point is, cops shoot people every day all over the fucking country. To me, that doesn't prove conspiracy. Whatever. But they did murder him.
Yeah.
And I just heard on the radio the other day, it was NPR, that they just ruled the shooting of Lavoy Finicum as justified. Justified.
Oh, of course. I don't even
Because
have
the
to.
car
Sheriff's
is a deadly
Department.
weapon.
Because here's what they said. The guy that gave the statement said he was driving a car and he had a gun in his jacket.
Right. Well, they found a 9mm pistol on him that he was never known to carry. He was widely known to carry a I don't know what it was, a revolver on his hip. And they said they found a 9mm in his jacket or something concealed. And, you know, internet sleuths got to it and found that it was reported stolen 2 months before that happened. And I'm not sure who the original owner was, but it wasn't him. And so they're basically saying they found a stolen 9mm gun on like a libertarian cowboy. So
yeah,
there you go.
And there is
Justified.
the gray area on that chopper footage. Remember, even we were tricked at first, where he's getting out of the car, he's running through the snow, and you see him put his hand to his chest or his torso, and it's hard to tell at first whether he's reaching for something or he's reacting to a gunshot.
Yeah.
Which I think we agreed that it looked more reactionary and not offensive or aggressive.
Well, and hey, at this point in our experience with law enforcement, we have to be suspicious when they put the video out that quick, because it came out pretty fucking quick. They must have seen
within
it.
I think 48 hours.
They must have seen it and gone, hey, we can work with this, you know?
Yeah, look at that. Looks like he's reaching into his jacket.
Exactly, or at least it can be fucking seen that way. So that's going to work for us. Totally, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people point
Real
that out.
convenient.
A lot of people point that out in comment sections that you know, that people claim that that's a known tactic, is shoot somebody in the hip so they grab for that area and then blast them away.
Yeah.
So whatever, man. The core of the issue that we shouldn't lose sight of is that, you know, this is a reaction to real corruption and oppression from the BLM. And I don't care what anybody says. Oh, they got welfare checks and this and blah blah blah. Dude, farmers have a strange relationship with the government. Many of them are paid not to produce over a certain amount of their product. Many of them are given subsidies because we all have an interest in them being able to produce more of the product and keep prices low for the consumer, because it's in everybody's best interest. You know what I mean? So like, to say like, oh, they're welfare farmers that just leech off society and then just keep asking for more and they're never satisfied. And by the way, their cattle is going to ruin that hill in Oregon. By the way, do you not even care about that?
What are you, anti-hill?
Yeah, come on, man. That's federal property. It's for us all to enjoy.
Yeah.
I just feel so
stupid.
sorry for these guys. Like, it's hard for me to
and
like. I just feel so bad for them, because they're just like, man, fuck you guys. We don't want to do this anymore.
Right. They're at their wits' end.
You know, I just feel so bad for them. Like, it's just such a heartbreaking situation, the whole thing.
And you've read the whole story of the Hammonds that kind of started this, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they're so peaceful of a people that they said, please don't do this in our name. We will go back to prison, and they're God people. So what they do is they go, it's in the hands of the Lord. We'll go back to prison and we'll continue, you know, being persecuted. Please don't turn this into a violent thing, you know? And so the Hammonds themselves didn't want these guys to fucking represent them and didn't want these guys taking over any buildings for them. You know, all that aside.
I don't think that's exclusive to being God people, though, because the occupiers were also God people.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just saying from their perspective, they're not like angry and acting like victims. They're going like,
Right.
I have faith and I'm going to navigate through this situation somehow. Where a lot of us would go, fuck this, you're stealing my fucking life. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And there's no afterlife. I have nothing after this. Nothing. Taking everything. But I'm just saying they have that faith thing. All right, so yeah, it is really, really, and obviously they're just the representation that we've all gotten to know of a larger systemic problem, because the Hammonds were the last one left in that whole valley, that they had already driven 20, 30 families out of. So there's a lot of fucking sad stories there.
I think it's all the Freemasons.
No.
Pushing everyone out of their cave zone.
Yeah.
What happened to you, Katie? Did you smoke weed?
No, dude, I just got really sad about Lavoy Finicum.
Talk
Yeah.
to me
the
then.
Oregon
Jesus, come on.
occupiers.
I'm trying to set something up and you guys are just duds. What's going on here? Talk to me.
Oh, about me smoking weed?
No, about you. No. God damn it. About how it's not.
I'm sorry, I just got really sad and I just don't even.
All right.
It's too sad to talk.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I don't know anybody in my personal life who has taken an interest in this story, and that's also very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Outside of like my family, David Box.
That's it, though.
People who listen to the show regularly.
Right.
But nobody else, everybody else is just willing to say, no, they're terrorists. They deserve what they get.
Yeah.
Without even like looking into the reasons why they feel the way they feel and they're doing the things that they're doing. And it feels so backwards. And it's like, it feels like an impossible deficit to work against. It's like, how do I convince every single person that I know that they need to be interested in this when they've already made up their minds?
Well, they have.
And it's discouraging. And I don't know why. I mean, I feel so emotionally connected to Lavoy Finicum and people who occupied the government building and the Bundys, and more so than any other activist groups, if we want to call them that instead of terrorists.
Sure.
But
yeah,
but nobody else cares.
Yeah. And it boggles my mind. It's like I don't even know where to begin with
It's
people.
disheartening.
What is the fact that people just so easily write it off?
Yeah.
And even people who I consider to be well-informed, somewhat enlightened, interested, intelligent,
Yeah,
are so willing to say.
This one is really strange, and nobody I talk to in day-to-day life has any fucking clue about it. They like a lot of people like haven't even heard of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just, it's fucking weird.
Or are just disinterested. Or don't care.
Or are actively rooting against them, which is the weirdest thing.
I can't understand that at all.
When the occupiers finally left the government building, well, when they were finally officially driven out by threat of violence through the FBI, they live streamed it over the phone.
I listened to the whole thing.
I listened to it for hours.
Yeah, me too.
And it was on the YouTube live stream that they were streaming from, and that has like a social stream on the side where people comment in real time. And I am not exaggerating when I say 95% of the comments were things along the lines of, just shoot them already, just kill them and get it over with. I hope you fucks get what's coming to you.
Right.
God.
While these people are in there basically on their knees saying, we had an agreement, we're begging you to just let us do it the way we agreed.
Yeah, but okay, like in a way, at that point, it's like this isn't gonna go anywhere. Like being a martyr is the only thing you could hope to achieve anymore, and
yeah.
And the truth of this situation is it was poorly handled. It was done emotionally and not well planned. You know what I mean? And they didn't have a lot of support from the public, and they probably should have worked on that for a while before they did something like this. You know what I mean? The whole thing was just ill-conceived. It just was ill-fated. It was.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I just want to support them so much because,
well,
like,
you can support them
the
philosophically.
idea was right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's what I mean. And
like, they're
you can support them philosophically without supporting them tactically.
yeah,
Right.
That's kind
I
of
mean,
where
there's
I'm
a
at.
reason we didn't drive out there and join them, but that doesn't mean that we don't believe in their plight.
And at the end of the day, part of that reason is we might just be kind of pussies compared to people like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
And we might not
And
have
we don't
any.
have any guns.
We might not have
We
any
don't have any
guns. Yeah,
guns.
that's the
the
thing.
biggest thing.
Well, and I swear to God, the reason none of us have any guns is because of how expensive they are. It really
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
If you could get set up with
Well, and the red tape, I don't know what it's like down there in Louisiana, but in Illinois, it's getting harder and harder and harder to go through the proper facilities to get yourself a firearm.
right, I've heard
A
that.
Floyd card
and,
it takes forever to have one issued to you. It's incredibly expensive, and there's like a ton of red tape to get through before they'll even get you an ID card that allows you to go spend even more money on a gun.
well, the Floyd card is not that big of a deal. It's like $20-some to apply for it, and then they just send it to you in the mail. It's really not that bad. It takes a couple months to get it.
Well, they've changed the laws in Illinois recently that it's more complicated and more expensive now.
Really?
A lot more than $20. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because somebody I knew did it, and I kind of saw the whole process, and it was actually really easy a couple years ago. But
Yeah, that must have been a while ago.
Again, probably a thing I shouldn't say on the show, but I always do. I'm not that interested in having a legal documented gun. So to me, I don't pay that much attention to the laws because I figure if I decide to get one, I don't really care about it being registered.
Gonna go to a back alley somewhere.
I really don't want anyone to know that I have it.
Yeah,
buy it from a
basically.
guy in a trench coat.
Because
because if they know you have it, they can take it away.
and well, okay, sure, on one extreme, and also just having a criminal record and blah blah blah, and I don't know what I might get into in the future. Do I want them being able to look up the fact that I have a weapon and kicking down my door twice as crazily because they think I'm armed?
Right.
Or whatever. But the whole point of it to me is also to be like, to take my, I always talk about how the armed populace is really the only thing standing between us and total tyranny here. And I really do believe that we'd be in a way worse fucking spot if we weren't the most armed country ever, as far as a populace goes. And, I think I should own a gun for that sense of responsibility, just so, when it comes time, I can take a few of them out with me. Yeah,
I'm too scared to own a gun. I would be scared that I would like sleepwalk to my gun and shoot something.
Yeah, you're an idiot. You shouldn't have a gun. Some people should.
Yeah, and you're like a scary sleepwalker too.
That's true.
Katie has an incredibly high level of function when she is asleep.
And you also do things.
She'll talk to you.
You also do things
and
when
respond.
you do things when you're drunk that have really clear consequences that like a chimp would understand before they did them, and you just do them anyways and go, "Oh, why did that happen?"
Like what? Like what?
I
Okay.
can think of a couple birthday stabbings that may have been influenced by alcohol.
Yes, you stabbed me in the hand with a,
Yeah.
and I quote you. All right. Here's what happened. You were trying to stab me with what was that thing? It was like a giant rose.
It was a rose.
But it had
was a rose.
But it was sharpened like a fucking razor. At the bottom, it was like a giant.
I didn't know that.
A point. And
You did. Wait, let
yeah,
me tell the story.
yeah, you did know it because here's your exact words. I said, "Stop stabbing me. That's really sharp," and you said, "Goddamn right it is," and plunged it deep into my hand, and I was fucking bleeding all over the floor.
Then you got mad because some of his blood got on your shirt.
I was wearing
was
a white
his fault.
shirt.
Yeah. Okay.
You stabbed him.
Didn't you
came
also
right out.
Didn't you also do the cinnamon challenge where you tried to swallow a fucking spoon of cinnamon or no?
Yes.
Okay. I don't
Even
know.
though you knew it was impossible. Now, hold on. In Katie's defense, she did call me today and say, guess what? Last night, I came home drunk and I did the dishes.
I woke up today and I was like, yeah, wow.
Someone did my
Nice.
dishes.
So not everything I do when I'm drunk is bad.
I don't know, but I've seen you a lot of times do things that are just really dumb, but you do it knowing what's going to happen for a comedic purpose. I'll give you that. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you had
I'm
a gun,
committed to the cops.
if you had a gun, I could see you like as a joke shooting me in the shoulder. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. And
Like, Katie, don't point that gun at me. It's loaded. Goddamn right it is.
And like you'd come out like shoot me in the shoulder or the knee, and everyone would go, Katie, put the gun down, and you'd point it at everyone laughing, like just shoot the ceiling a couple times. That would be you with a gun. It would,
Take a swig from your bottle.
yeah, exactly. You can never have a gun. I would.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're right. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to have a gun.
Yeah.
I'm scared that I might shoot somebody.
But you have an obligation to get one.
I can't though. You guys will be the ones that I shoot. You know?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
I'm going to break again. We got a little bit more to do. Are you guys keen to do a little more show with me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can only do like a little tiny bit.
Yeah,
more.
we'll have to wrap it up soon.
All right.
David Box is already out.
Yeah, I noticed. We're going to take a break for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll be back and do a little more, and we'll get out of here.
All right, cool.
All right. Yes. You guys here?
Oh yeah. Oh, we're here.
Coming back on the Overdose Talk Show.
Yeah.
We got a lot more slick pontifications that are going to rock your very limited perspective straight to its core.
Listen up, cores.
This is the Arrogant Philosopher Podcast. Let's do some shit that we were gonna do. The magnetic motors, Andrea. remember?
Yes.
We saw this post about a guy. You have to remind me of his name. Who?
Umberto Baudo.
Yes, and I guess since about 2008, he's been working on something that's sort of been a fringe conversation in engineering and mechanics and crop circles, which is that a lot of crop circles seem to represent principles of a magnetic motor, which would generally be something not necessarily a kinetic energy machine or a perpetual motion machine, but similar to it, I guess, and would encompass some of the same principles, whereby you could bypass combustion as a source of energy and create a situation where using the right intervals and the right matchups in polarity, you could drive a flywheel or some similar gear structure to perpetually turn. Okay, so this guy says, look, people have been making these and working on this, since going back to the 40s, from what I know. Oh, very interestingly, the guy who's responsible for building Coral Castles, or is it just Coral Castle in Florida?
Coral Castle.
Coral Castle, who we've talked about.
Ed Leeds Cullen.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Ed, what is it? Ed Leeds Kalnin.
Leeds Cullen.
He came up in our episode that we did a long time ago about pyramids and strange structures around the world that are unexplained. And he is known to have built these structures using thousands and thousands of pounds of coral and blocks that just weigh enormous amounts, and has never told anyone how he achieved it, right? And it's one of these modern...
Yeah, did it without the use of heavy machinery.
Yeah.
On his own.
People have investigated this to a great extent, and he's definitely, he didn't rent anything. No, people were curious at the time how he was doing it. They tried to spy on him, couldn't figure it out. The only eyewitness story there ever was those two kids who said they saw him holding two things that looked like ice cream scoops, or what are they? Ice cream cones. They said that he was holding something that looked like that and making a stone float. Okay, so that same guy who achieved one of the greatest modern mysteries that we know of built a working magnetic motor in the 40s using parts of a Model T. And basically what he did is he took these magnets, right? Okay, you remember when you were a kid and you would take two magnets and put the positive sides together and they push away from each other?
Of course.
Okay.
I do that as an adult.
Sure, and you could even take maybe something and put it on the table and put a magnet by it and make it move towards it or away from it, depending on what's going on. So we're clear on the idea that polarity, in magnets can produce a force, right? So he figured, I can drive a flywheel by making these 24 stacks of 5 magnets each. Okay, I don't know if that really matters to your understanding of this or mine, but picture a clock, right? And instead of 12 numbers, it's, twice as many. And he's got these things aligned with a magnet in the center and a crank that when he gets it started, it bounces off each next stack of magnets and drives it to the next, 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 and it keeps it turning. You get that?
Right.
Is that clear kind of what the concept is?
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. So basically that's a really simple one. I don't think anybody's ever made one that doesn't degrade in torque over time. So, nobody's ever... There's some ones that rely on electricity, and the magnets basically aid in keeping the thing moving. And then some of them even claim that they can be perpetual energy machines by having coils and wires in the engine as it's moving that will then charge another battery, and the batteries can switch off and keep. But so far that's been pretty well debunked, that energy degrades and friction is just going to be the basic thing that causes that. So anytime you've got friction, right now I don't know if it's possible to get around that and not have the energy source degrade. But people are claiming that it is possible. It's a big argument in mechanics and engineering, I guess, is what I'm picking up on.
Right. Just like a perpetual motion machine, which in theory works, but has things like friction would be like a worldly influence that's impossible to get around, that makes it impossible for a perpetual motion machine to actually work.
Yeah, and we've seen some that seem like they are, but we haven't watched them operate over 16 hours a week. You know what I mean? And what I'm seeing is the prevailing consensus with people that really understand this stuff is they go, no, it's impossible. They will all lose. They'll all lose speed and energy over time. Okay, so whatever. So this guy. What's his name again? Umberto.
Umberto Baudo.
Baudo.
Italian.
He says, and a lot of people, this is sort of probably the holy grail of mechanics, is like this. Some people think like this can work and this can be done, and people for the past 25, 30 years have been saying, look, some of these principles of a magnetic motor are laid out in crop circles. And we can see all the mechanics here and the mathematics. And so this guy actually is now basically engineering these magnetic motors based on the plans that he's seen in crop circles, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's astounding how many different looking crop circles have practical applications when you put them all on the spectrum of creating magnetic energy. Because you see these designs that seem to be completely unrelated to each other. But when you start like replacing their circles with magnets and their lines with metal and frames, and they all become functional blueprints.
Yeah, the one
that is very interesting.
Yeah, and the one that I saw pictures of that this guy is working on basically looks like it's sort of a situation like concentric circles going inward of and the placement of the magnets. There's like different size magnets going in from small to large in line, within these concentric circles, and you can envision how mathematically someone might be able to figure out the exact timing and relativity and polarity and everything that needs to be going on here for this thing to really fucking just exist off magnetic energy. I don't know. That might be stupid and naive, but just from looking at it, I could kind of envision like, that seems like it might work. Maybe,
Yeah, as a person who knows absolutely nothing about how this works.
Right. I guess I could just envision it, idealistically. Just I could go like, yeah, I could see magnets are powerful. They're weird. There's also the discrepancy between like, or not, I don't know if you call it that, but there's permanent magnets and then there's magnets that degrade. Because if you think about it, the fact that when you put those two positives together or whatever causes a propulsion, doesn't it make sense that when force is produced, somehow something would have to degrade?
It does make sense, but I honestly don't understand how magnets work.
No, and by the way, I did a bunch of reading about it today, and it was seriously like just reading another language half the time. I'm like, this is fucking insanely intricate and complicated, because I was trying to read about permanent magnets and figure out if I could understand why their properties don't degrade. And it all has to do with when you remove. So magnets, for magnets to do their thing, they have to be there has to be a magnetic field. Okay, so I guess these elements, when you break them down, and if you took away the field, permanent magnets still have magnetic properties, I guess, without a specific magnetic field around them, whereas non-permanent ones don't. That's basically how they make the distinction, is when the field is removed, these ones still have the magnetic properties. That might be a really, it definitely is a pathetically oversimplified explanation, but that's kind of what I took away from what I read today. So, anyways, for whatever reason, the theory is if you used permanent magnets and you did everything properly, theoretically you could find some way around the friction and get this thing going. You've seen the trains, okay? Remember the trains in Japan that were going to be magnetic rails? And
yes,
so they've got it set up in a way that the thing's not even touching the track, but it's not going to derail. There's no way. It would take some amazingly powerful force to get these things away from each other, even though they're not touching. It was a very strange fucking thing. Did they ever implement those or no?
I don't think that those are I don't think they exist in real life yet, but I think they're working on it.
Okay, whatever. The principle,
in theory, they work really well.
Yeah, and the principle there, which everyone generally accepted, was like, yeah, we'll have an electric engine and whatever that's going to manipulate the field to activate this magnetic, propulsion system, and off we go. So I mean, you could see it happening.
Well, and they use magnetic propulsion systems on smaller scales. In Chicago, or in Gurnee, outside of Chicago at Six Flags, they have roller coasters that explode with speed. Like it takes no time to accelerate because they use magnetic propulsion to reach a high speed, like immediately out the gate.
Sure, and people build little magnetic train systems in their house. Where you saw that video we were watching earlier. Where it basically, pushes it enough to get to the next magnet, and then it kind of slows down and goes boom and on to the next one, and they can go around in a circle for a while. So yeah, the stuff exists, but I think the question is a technical one of, is it actually perpetual energy, which nobody's achieved.
Right. No. So far, it's only aided by electricity.
There's even some good. There's some good frauds out there too that I saw, where there's like a compressed air machine off screen, and that's actually blowing the thing that keeps it going, because it's a really light motor, and people like order it online. They're like, this thing doesn't fucking work. Well, no returns. Fuck it, or faggot. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Fog it.
Okay, wait, but I have a question here. Now, if this Umberto Baudo is building magnetic motors from designs or basically exact copies of crop circles. What are the implications there? I mean, what does that mean?
Katie, I'll tell you. Here's what it is. Throughout the history of sci-fi and from anything from that to serious speculation on why possibly an alien race or something like that, or an interdimensional race or whatever you think this might be, would want to contact you, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have destructive energy sources. And that's been a really common theme in people's speculation on this. So that would kind of all be in line with that is like, you know, they might be leaving subtle hints of this is what you guys need to be doing, stupid. Not nuclear and coal and combustion and oil and blah, blah, blah. You know, all these destructive, chaotic things that are causing wars all over the place. Here's what you're really after. You know what I mean? That's what better thing?
Yeah.
What better thing could there be communicated to us from a higher a species with a higher consciousness? What other thing on the planet causes more destruction than energy? You know, and the pursuit thereof.
Yeah, but why use such a? I mean, why not just like if they're trying to communicate to us like this is how you need to do it? Why don't they just communicate that to us?
Why is it so cryptic?
Yeah.
Well, what are they?
I think that
what are they supposed to do? Fucking send you a podcast? Like what are they? Well, actually, why not?
Well,
Yeah,
no, you know
to
what?
an alien
There's a
podcast.
difference between telling somebody something and letting somebody believe that they figured it out for themselves. If you think something is your idea, you have a more emotional, deep connection to it, and you'll work harder and do more and put more at stake and take bigger risks because it's yours. If somebody came down and said, this is how you guys have to do it, it's easier to get defensive and push back and say, no, you don't know. You can't tell us what to do.
That's an interesting point.
Also, how do you know they haven't tried to contact and work with major governments on our country?
Yeah, right.
And realized, holy shit, these people are fucking evil. You know,
Or stupid.
And this whole conversation goes very deep. There's a lot of people that that have done a lot of work identifying the different races of extraterrestrials that it's likely are in our galaxy and that have interacted with our planet. And you know, across the board, most of these people are going to tell you that the common gray alien that you see is a half biological, half machine droid that basically is used to carry out dirty work by a higher race, who I forget the name of. And
Anunnaki.
no. Did you ever see the crop circle that was a picture of a gray alien and then a binary coded message? And when they
No.
Yeah. Andrea, pull that up for Katie to look at, okay?
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now.
And then pull up if you can, pull up one with the decoded message, because the decoded message is Creepsville, and it has to do with the Greys and how they're deceptors and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, people who are really into this, and I have been from time to time in my life, and I kind of agree, you know, a lot of us think that there are different influences out there, and there are evil and benevolent cultures, you know, that we potentially will interact with on this planet. And, you know, there might be good ones reaching out to us in the way that they can figure out, because they can't establish contact with any major organization here. Or figure out.
Or anytime they have, the message has been suppressed instead of released.
Yeah.
Which seems more likely if they reached out to someone at the top and said, hey, here's a way that everybody can have free energy and it's clean and you don't have to do anything. You just set it up and let it go.
Or
you know,
or they realize that our leaders are in collusion with one of the evil races.
And they're just trying to get to us directly.
And they're just zipping in real quick, like Robin Hood style. You know what I mean? They're probably risking their own fucking lives leaving these crop circles, because you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there is a definite. I mean, the average person is programmed to be afraid of an extraterrestrial, regardless of what their intentions are. You know, if an alien came knocking on the door and said, "Hey, let me give you these blueprints for free energy," most people would freak out, get defensive, become violent, reject the message. I mean, I think that if they are of a high enough intelligence to teach us these things, to come here, to do it in a stealthy way, they're probably of a high enough intelligence to know that we wouldn't receive the message unless we thought it came from us.
Crop circles are cool.
I know. Did you pull up the picture of the one for her or what?
Yeah, dude. Okay, here's what the message says. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing. I don't know what that means. That's their message in binary.
Which reads a lot like channelings.
Yeah.
If you ever looked into that stuff, that are supposedly like extraterrestrials that are, channeling through humans and stuff, and they write the messages online and everything, and it sounds so stupid, but when you get into it, you do get this sense of like, there's no one making money here. There's no real agenda behind. It's like, man, there are years and years of these things, and it's like people really believe it, and you start to kind of go like, you get drawn in on that idea of like, why do people believe in this? And I don't know. I used to read channeling websites all the time, and it's interesting. Whatever.
Now back to the blueprints, though.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
There is part. Katie has the laptop right now, but
Sorry.
that's okay. I don't understand this part fully, so it's hard for me to explain. But there is numerology involved, wherein there was a series of fields that continually were getting these blueprint-style crop circles placed in them, and one of them appeared to be a numerical code, which the farmer with a connection to some of the scientific community was able to decode, and then they were able to accurately predict the placement and the basic not the basic look, but like the basic message behind a crop circle. They were able to say, okay, the next one is going to come here, and it's going to show us X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And then that's what happened.
And it all has to do with like complicated codes for pi and stuff that they...
Yeah, it has to do with pi, geometry.
They decrypted, and they're like, hey, look, so we can interpret these both as pointing in this direction, so let's see where those meet and predict the next crop circle, and they did it successfully. Yeah. There's also been weird, like people at NASA. What was that one? Here, let me find it real quick. Alan Holt. Let's see. It says, and he was a project manager for NASA. I don't know what that even means. He visited Wiltshire to look at a crop circle. And in his words, he says he put out the thought in a crop picture somewhat as a test, but really a request that he would like to see a crop pictogram appear, which could provide some insight into the direction he should pursue in his advanced transport field physics research activities. 2 days later, a spectacular diagram of the magnetic field near Bar Magnet appeared at Avebury, Truslow. How can a place that speaks English have such crazy names? So basically what he got is a representation of some really advanced physics and magnetics and some apparently some clues to his problems with advanced transport. So that's what one of the people in NASA says, who obviously we don't trust, but it's just shows you a little bit of the weirdo culture around crop circles. Not even to put it down as weirdo, just saying it's not something that people really talk about it. And crop circles have been one of the things that have driven me crazy in my examples over time. Is like so many weird things happen in the world, and then it's like you can bring them up to people and they go, crazy. But it's always like back to, oh, well, so did you see the fucking sports game or the whatever? It's like people have this craving for regular life when there's so much fantastic thing, so many fantastic things to be interested in and marvel at, and that could truly lead to some weird enlightening knowledge. Why do it's like there's a list a mile long, and you can't get people interested in this fucking shit.
Well, a lot of people I think are disillusioned by when the two men were exposed for creating all of the crop circles in
They
the world.
did them all.
What?
Yeah,
They
were
did
like,
all of them
dude,
with a board and a piece of rope.
I'm pretty sure that
Silly.
was a 60 Minutes thing originally. I remember that when I was a kid, and they're like
Me
showing.
too.
They're like, yeah, look, we just take some basic measurements, we cut some boards, we cut some ropes, get all drunk, and we just walk around in circles and blah. Blah. It's like,
And
Wait, my
make
favorite-
geometrically perfect patterns. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that
My
makes sense.
favorite part of that, though, is I vividly remember watching this thing about crop circles, and like the introduction is like, these patterns appear overnight with no human footprints found to explain how they could have been designed and blah, blah, blah. And then when they get to the part about how two people did it, they explain that by saying, upon further investigation, they do find footprints around the pattern. like,
No.
oh.
but you know what I mean about how like there's so much weird stuff happening, and like people
Yeah.
are still somehow entertained by like regular fucking media and
yeah,
and
nobody cares
bullshit.
about the weird stuff.
But how can it not be that we all just stop going to work and we stop talking about anything else until crop circles are explained? Like right
Yeah.
now, everybody
Yeah.
just stop everything and let's just take care of this. That's what should be happening.
Yeah, you know what? I remember reading about, this is a little off topic, but I remember reading about a mass UFO sighting in Australia, I want to say, but I'm not positive. But it was an unidentified object that hung in the air for like 18 hours. And I remember thinking, and it like stayed there during daylight, more difficult to see, but was definitely there. And then like, you could see the lights at night. And I remember thinking, how the fuck do you stop looking at that? How the fuck do you say, okay, well, I'm going to go to work now. Maybe it'll still be there when I'm done. Like, how do you not,
Yeah.
how
do you-
did they not shut everything down while that was happening?
everybody look
Yeah.
at this? Someone fucking explain this shit. But that's what it is. Like, you hear it in videos like, remember the Sky Swirl videos? How crazy those were? And it's like
Yeah.
it's a vortex opening in the sky. And you hear, like, the people that are filming it, like, by the end of the video, somebody is mentioning something totally mundane in the background. You know, just like, I don't know, you still want to go to Jared's house? It's like, yeah, I guess so. Like, this fucking thing, I don't know what's up with this, but
Might as well.
yeah, whatever. We got to get back to life here. But it is kind of like that. What are you going to do?
I don't know. I would just stand there and stare at it until it either did something or disappeared.
I would,
That's what I would do.
I would
Yeah.
I wouldn't even turn around to get a chair. I would just stand there.
Yeah.
I would meditate and try to communicate with it. No, try to see if I could ask it what it's here for. You know what I mean? Maybe I could help it. Maybe it's a spot of dark energy in the universe and it just needs some love. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, wait. Can we go back a couple minutes to when you said that there was crop circles that they mathematically determined where the next crop circle was going to be, and then they were right?
Yeah.
Why didn't somebody go stand there and wait for the aliens to come and make this crop circle if
fucking
they thought
question.
that's where it was going to be?
Yeah, you know what?
That is a good question,
That's a
but
good
they
question.
had no idea when it would be.
That's true. They
So
had,
post somebody up there forever.
Katie, they had no idea when. But Andrea, to be fair, they should have put out those game cameras. You know what I mean? That are
At
triggered,
least, yeah.
like that they always try to catch Bigfoot with, where they like it's about to go to commercial, and when we get back, we'll see what we found on our game camera. Oh, holy shit! Look at this! Whoa, beep! And then you come back and it's like,
It's a bear.
yeah, like, oh my god, there was a black bear 60 feet from our camp. You assholes. Damn it. Fucking
Yeah, I don't
shows.
know. I mean, I guess
Who didn't give up on those kind of shows like 8-10 years ago? Because at first it was like, man, it's so cool. Like, they're putting like weird stuff on TV finally. You know, it's like all this stuff that you had to... Remember when you had to like go to the library to get some weird old documentary on like the Loch Ness Monster on VHS and bring it home? Or like, here's one on the Dogon Dogon tribe at Kilimanjaro. I remember that one I got from the library. We used to just go there and find, like, here's one on fucking paranormal hotels in England. Oh, wow, that's cool. Before the internet, I'm talking. And so it was...
Back when you only saw, like, one interesting thing a month.
Right. And it used to be, like, hard work to find something cool to watch, you know? And then it was like, damn, man, they're going after, like, cool topics on TV until, like, you realized they're just doing this to be jerks because they put together the worst shows ever possible, the most patronizing bullshit full of buffoonish morons just basically doing everything they can do to make all these topics look silly, you know?
Yeah, and then you realize that if they find Bigfoot on Finding Bigfoot, they don't have a show anymore. So why would they try and actually find him?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think some real Bigfoot footage would go a long way on television. I think television's desperate too. I think they would do that if they could. I don't know. Bigfoot's a hard one. He's very camera shy, that one.
Well, and he's everywhere.
Well,
I like him.
Let's not even get into it because I so fucking believe in Bigfoot.
I know. I know you do.
Yeah. I do. It's impossible for it to not be real, but we're not going into it.
Okay. Is it Bigfoot making the crop circles? Tonight at 9.
Yeah, no.
Bigfoot has an advanced knowledge of mechanical or magnetic motors.
Okay, my second question about Umberto Baudo is that
You're
he's
remembering his name really well.
Thank you.
That's really good.
You're welcome.
I didn't say thank you.
Oh. Wait, what happened was I said thank you, and then I also said you're welcome to myself. Okay, but he's making these magnetic motors. Do they work? We didn't talk about that. We talked about the theory of magnetic motors, but if he's actually making them based off crop circles, do they work?
Andrea, did you find out?
I don't know if there's a conclusive answer to that.
What was that?
Because what they've done
way
is
too
they've
loud.
adopted a lot of theories based on what they believe to be blueprints, but I think that they're still interpreting and perfecting.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, that's more like it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's
But I saw a picture of one that was actually already built. So why don't we have the information as to whether or not it works?
because most of it's in Italian.
I know, and I was reading it earlier. If you would remember, I
Okay,
can
so-
read Italian, but it didn't say if it worked or not. Wait, maybe it did. Pull that website back up.
Whatever.
I'll read it in Italian.
Andrea, did you want to do the Edward Snowden thing before we get out of here? So here's where we're at with that. It's all very interesting. There's a lot of people making homemade ones. It's cool. It's a big argument. Blah blah blah. I think it's awesome that the guy is trying to design them based on crop circles, just because that's cool. Weird. And I guess we'll have to look more into it. It's really hard to understand. We took a few hours just to get to where I kind of have a layman's sort of vague understanding of how one of these might work, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's a good indicator of how very advanced this is.
Yeah. Gotta get some aliens in on it. Man, that's the problem in this fucking country. All the good engineering and mathematic jobs are getting outsourced to fucking Nibiru. Those fucking nibbers.
Nibiru.
Wait, you missed my nibber
Yeah, we can
line.
talk about Edward
Oh,
Snowden
I
real
missed
quick.
it again.
Oh,
Okay.
Huh?
Man, I put a risky line out there and you coughed over it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was
I'm
doing
trying
a
not
thing,
to cough into the
I was doing a
microphone.
thing about jobs being exported to Nibiru, and then I was like, here's the thing. I decided to take a little risk, you know what I mean? Racially. Okay?
Mhm.
So, what I said is, they're exporting all our jobs to Nibiru. Those fucking nibbers.
Nailed it. So risky.
Boy, it felt that
no, I
was
just
one
wanna
of the
mention-
more uncomfortable spans of a couple minutes in my life. Still
Yeah,
is now
I
that
feel
I'm doing
really
this.
bad right now.
Yeah, making it worse. Keep making it worse.
Okay, so there's a lot of
Still worse.
controversy right now surrounding Apple. The United States government would like Apple to unlock the iPhone of the San Bernardino shooter.
Yeah, I know. Everybody knows about this, but they're like, hey, what did they say? That they can't do it or that it's unethical?
It's unethical.
It's unethical. They won't do it.
That is fucking insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that...
I totally like that.
I like it a lot.
Really?
I
think it would be pretty... I see this more as like, you know, some kind of collusion from up high to block some information. Because you remember how weird that shooting was, right? And how much the reporting changed over time, and it seemed to be pretty suspicious as a possible false flag kind of thing. So I almost see it as like, man,
and also
that is very, very, very valuable to the public, whatever's on that phone. And it's like, you know, if you're saying, and these people are dead, and you're saying they went and shot a bunch of people, I think you sort of forfeit your right to privacy in that situation. I think we can agree on that. As a society, I feel like that is there should be times where we can go, okay, you know, there's some controversy here. Let's find out a little bit more about this guy.
But you're not concerned about the slippery slope of requesting a breach of privacy of a private citizen in order to further government narrative.
Well, okay, but where's the logic in this?
Because if
I can't hold on. I can't vote because I'm a convicted felon. Yet you can't unlock a guy's phone after he murders a shitload of people. You see what I'm saying? I mean, this is all very hypocritical from the stance of just like we're preserving integrity here. You know, I mean, this country is
right, and it also doesn't seem like a character move for Apple to do, because as we know, Apple is generally not a morally upstanding
Hold on
company.
a second. It's fucking storming outside, and the cat is at the door screaming. Hold on.
I heard that cat.
Yeah, that's a loud cat.
Yeah, seriously. No, but that is an interesting point that Vinny makes about wanting to get the truth behind the shooting, because I will remember watching those events unfold and going from suspecting 3 white men in tactical gear to then shooting a man and a woman, Muslim people, in the middle of the street.
Right.
You know, and it happened within a matter of hours.
Right.
You know, as the American public was watching and
now
then not questioning.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Where did we go here? I'm sorry.
We're just kind of recapping the San Bernardino shooting and how bizarre the reporting was and the story was. Here's what I think, though. I think the FBI absolutely is capable of unlocking that phone on their own, which is what Edward Snowden has said, too, based on what he knows about their ability to breach privacy.
Yeah.
That there's no way that they can't unlock the phone.
This shit has been coming out with Apple for many years, is that there's secret backdoors built into all this technology that people in government know about. You know, Apple is another one of those companies like Monsanto, probably not to the same degree, but their employees are often interchangeable with the government. A lot of people have gone back and forth, you know. So
I also
okay, can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Andrea, you piece of shit.
Jeez.
I've been trying to say this since we started this.
I want to say something too.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is that the FBI is using this and saying, you know, Apple has to be the one to give us permission. Apple has to do it.
They're full of shit.
Taking the
They're
first
full
step
of shit.
To get the authority to do this to anybody that they say so. And to
Right.
get the public approval to unlock whatever phone they want and force Apple into doing it. So
That's
that down
probably
the
why
line, when they want to unlock my phone or your phone, the precedent is set and we know that they can do it.
So you're
okay,
saying,
but I do want to say that.
Sorry, I was just going to say, so just to sort of like frame it clearly, you're saying they're using and exploiting something they feel like people will be emotional enough to overlook the constitutional implications of to get something done on the slippery slope angle.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
so that down the
okay.
line they can say, hey, you guys said this was going to be okay. You guys were behind us the last time we did it.
Well, they probably want a Supreme Court ruling, which is what they're going for, because Apple has been ordered by the courts to unlock the phone, and they're still not doing it. So what the FBI, the government, probably wants is a Supreme Court ruling so that they can say, here you go. Our highest court said you have to do it. Now, no matter what, you have to do it. You know.
Or what? They're going to arrest the entire company?
No, but I mean, but to make them comply, you know.
Right. Well, but they're already refusing to comply, allegedly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah.
But,
so, and I do want to say that I watched a video the other day, and it was a guy, and he was like, he's got this iPhone, and he was like, it's locked, I can't get into it. And then he did you can get to some apps from a locked iPhone. And he basically tricked it into thinking that and then he got into it without ever putting the password in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck? And then I'm reading the comments, and it's somebody that we knew that posted this thing. And he's like, man, I just tried it. This totally works. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, what the fuck is the FBI taking Apple to court for? If this fucking idiot guy can figure out, just some dude with a YouTube channel can figure out how to do this, how come?
Okay, so then it is all total bullshit, and they just want to set the precedent because Supreme Court rulings, that's what they're all about, obviously. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Edward Snowden had to say about it, based on what he knew about their abilities to get into technology and get information out of things. He said,
yeah, I was looking at it from the beginning like they're trying to...
bullshit.
Yeah, right. Okay. I was trying to look at it from the beginning like they're trying to hide something about that shooter, but it's obviously way bigger than that. So I was wrong about that, I think.
No, you did make an interesting point, though. I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah, but what's to stop them from opening the phone and saying that it contained whatever they wanted it to contain?
Yeah,
that's
a good
they
point,
could
too.
They could get into the phone and say,
yeah.
oh, look, here's all the information that we were hoping to find. And here it is. It completely backs up what we think and what we thought and what we said in the beginning,
Right.
Who
yeah.
regulates that?
I think I'm abandoning that position.
Stupid.
I know.
So, yeah, I think it's just a media circus. It's just
No, it's
trying
not,
to get people
but
on
it's
their
gonna
side.
set-
But I haven't seen a single person. Actually, that's not true. I have seen a couple people who are like, Apple, you need to unlock the phone. But I think overall, generally, the consensus is privacy is more important.
Maybe in our circle, but that's certainly not the general consensus.
Well,
I
and
feel like it's pretty divided. And once again, I've listened to several pieces on NPR.
Why are you
about
with the NPR? What is it? NPR is so fucking boring
It's all I listen to.
and one-sided.
Well,
like it's so, and there's it's like personality-free radio that all has to be incredibly soft and inoffensive in every possible way. It's like, dude,
But you love Paul Poundstone.
That shit makes me feel like I'm on Valium, and I hate being on Valium.
Well, I listen to. I just get this is where I get my news. It's my main source of news because they play the BBC news reports a lot, and that's what I listen to. Anyway, I just will say that I've listened to several reports about they go into the community and they take polls, and they're like,
yeah.
You should see the look on her face right now.
asking people's opinions about whether or not Apple should unlock the iPhone, and it is split pretty much 50-50.
Well, and I think the other scary implication is that if they get a Supreme Court order that says, in the cases of terrorism, there are no limitations to what is private. If you are accused or suspected of terrorism, the FBI can do X, Y, and Z. And then, as we already know, terrorism can basically be defined as anything. The definition is so broad, they could call anybody a terrorist and then lean on that word to do whatever they want, including deny you even the basic right to privacy. So, I don't know. It's scary. I did hear Mr. Trump made a very, very convicted statement about how they needed to unlock the phone and that Apple is committing treason by not allowing this to happen.
Oh, crying out loud.
They have a duty to their country, and, you know, it's...
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's silly. Okay, listen. Oh, did you guys watch that video of the lady that was drunk driving and hit a tree?
With a tree in her
Jesus
car?
Christ. 15-foot tree.
She's driving down the street with a tree completely upright. The tree is somehow perfectly still standing, like, straight up in the air, and it's embedded in the front of her car. And there's a cop,
she's just driving along.
and there's a cop trying to pull her over, and she's just like, just fucking act natural right now. Everything's good. Just fucking keep it together. He's just...
What seems to be the problem, officer?
Yeah, it's dash cam footage of him, like, following her. But I wish there was...
Ma'am, slow your vehicle down.
Why?
I wish that you could, like, hear what happens when he approaches the car, you know?
Yeah, how do you not laugh? How are you not just, like, laughing hysterically?
If you're the cop?
Yeah.
Dude,
because cops are soulless, joyless pieces of shit, and that's how you don't laugh.
I'll tell you what, if I was standing on the sidewalk and saw this fucking car drive past me,
I would be like, yes. I would get in my car and follow them.
My hero.
Cartoon hearts just explode out of your eyes.
Yeah.
See, like, a good cop would walk up and make jokes about it, like, ma'am, I think we better get to the root of the problem here as soon as we can. You know what I mean? I can't think of any other ones.
I was reading the comments in the video, like when the news station posted this video, and there were so many good puns in there, and I can't remember any of them, but people were like making a lot of really good tree puns. Trunk driving.
That's funny. Yeah, dude, that is some of the best footage I've ever seen. Just a lady trying to look casual while she's got an entire tree coming out of the front of her car. It's the fucking best thing ever.
So fucking funny.
There's a cop.
This was Roselle, Illinois, too. This was right around the corner.
There's a cop behind us. Yeah, right behind us. Just fucking no. Just stop squirming around. Just fucking act normal, like it's a fucking tree car. All right. We'll tell him we just bought it. We're taking it home to get it fixed. This is how we got it. Just fucking. I'll get us out of this.
No, it's just an environmentally safe vehicle, sir. Came with the tree. Creates oxygen as I drive. You're gonna start seeing a lot of these on the road.
This is part of I'm actually just reducing my carbon footprint by directly replacing some of the carbon dioxide I put out. It goes right up into the leaves, and they just cough it back out as oxygen. You know how it works. They just breathe it right in. I'm making zero imprint right now at all, bro. Now, can you say the same thing?
And what did you do for the earth today, officer?
Why don't you fire up your standard Crown Vic there and just keep fucking ruining the ozone, bro? I'm driving with my tree car.
Call me old-fashioned, but I like breathing air.
And, I don't know about you, but I'd just rather be part of the solution than the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's like a real pretentious drunk.
Plus, it's like, dude, it's super shady. You don't need one of those covers for your windshield or any of that stuff. I can leave a lighter right on my dashboard, bro. Can you do that? That shit will explode in your car. Not in the tree mobile, bruh.
Tree mobile. Oh, it's so beautiful.
And if that's okay with you, then all right, never mind. I was gonna try a few more, and I just realized the next one I was gonna say was gonna be really way even worse than that one.
Oh God, does
That
it get
one-
worse?
Yeah, I don't know how.
All right, now you have to say it.
Nope, not gonna happen. And I usually would.
Damn it.
Anyways, on okay, that was inspirational. What else we got, Andrea, before we're out of here? What is this one real? See, now I don't trust anything. Did you check
Just
any of
read
these?
it to me and I'll tell you.
The Florida man who was arrested
This is
for
real. This is definitely real.
Florida man arrested for reportedly tossing a gator into a Wendy's.
Yeah,
Guy-
I've read statements from his parents and everything.
Guy in Jupiter, Florida, was arrested for throwing a live alligator into a Wendy's restaurant drive-thru east of Loxahatchee, according to WPTV. Joshua James, 23, was charged with aggravated assault and a deadly weapon, illegally killing, possessing, or capturing an alligator, and second-degree larceny, petty theft, according to the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. Why did he do this, Andrea? Do you know?
He thought it would be funny. That's why.
And he
He
was
did it. He
he
came
was,
out and said
he was right
that-
about that. That's for fucking sure.
he
There's
didn't
no denying that
intend to
throwing an
hurt anyone.
alligator into a restaurant is funny. I mean, it just is. Even I don't know why, but
Yeah,
that's
you can't argue with that.
yeah. Well, it's really funny. So okay, he's right. What else?
And he basically just said, I didn't really want to hurt anybody. I just thought it would be like a funny, goofy thing to do. There may have been alcohol involved.
Oh, I feel bad for him. I think that is funny and goofy.
And he's facing some pretty serious consequences for this. And his parents have come out and been like, he's not a bad kid. He
Yeah,
just like
but
did something stupid.
Of course, it's probably animal abuse and endangering.
Assault with a deadly weapon.
Oh, did they? That's
Yeah.
what they got him for?
That's what I read.
Oh, that's what I
Yeah, that's what
I
you
read
read
that. I read that
out
out
loud
loud, but
just
when I read out loud, I don't pay attention to myself.
Aggravated assault with a
The
deadly weapon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not a good thing to do. It's just fucking funny to read about for a minute and totally forget. And let's leave it at that. Richard Dawkins defends mild pedophilia. I wanted to get to this before we end the show. He says it does not cause lasting harm. Is this an inflammatory headline? This is from Salon. So at least we know it's not totally completely made up. Maybe. What is this, Andrea? In a recent interview with Times Magazine, Richard Dawkins attempted to defend what he called mild pedophilia, which he says he personally experienced as a young child and does not believe causes lasting harm. Dawkins went on to say that one of his former schoolmasters, quote, pulled me on his knee and put his hand inside my shorts. And that to condemn this mild touching up as sexual abuse today would somehow be unfair.
Yeah, there's nothing weird about that.
No, that's
Who is saying all this?
Richard
Richard
Dawkins.
Dawkins?
He's one of
I
the
don't know who that is.
he was a contemporary of Christopher Hitchens. For years did a lot of debates taking the atheist side in religious debates. He's a renowned I think politically considered to be pretty far to the left, writes. He's a writer, speaker, all kinds of stuff. A guy that I actually have enjoyed listening to him from time to time in religious debates, although not nearly as much as I enjoyed Christopher Hitchens. Dawkins is decidedly less charismatic and a little creepier, but obviously from this quote. But this is, Andrea, haven't we seen a lot of stuff like this where, as we're redefining, I think what do you even say, as we go along and become more tolerant of like alternative sexual lifestyles, a lot of people ask the question of how far does it go, and how much are you supposed to be accepting of, and I think it's a
and where do you draw the line?
Yeah, and it's unfair to enter that into something like should gay people have the right to be married and practice their lifestyle freely, because that's an unfair jump to say, like, well, then it might lead to pedophilia. No, I don't think the two correlate whatsoever, but
Right.
you know,
well, and I also think it's dangerous to put pedophilia on a spectrum and describe mild pedophilia as acceptable.
Sure, but we have seen these groups that 20 years ago were championing gay rights have moved into like saying, well, no, like even other things can be considered. I forget the details, but we did it on the show one time. Remember?
Yeah, where
they wanted
pedophilia.
Yeah, some really far left groups that were trying to say like, let's include this in a list of like acceptable alternative sexual lifestyles as long as it's consensual. Right? If I remember that right.
Right, or to get it classified as a like a emotional mental condition and a medical condition instead of a
right, that too. Yeah.
You know, they wanted to call it a medical condition, get it defined medically, and then use existing laws protecting medical situations as a way to justify acceptance.
Okay. Yeah.
Of those things.
So that is a creepy thing for somebody to say.
Super creepy, and also what makes it even creepier is that Dawkins doesn't seem to think that it's creepy at all. He doesn't think that there's anything wrong with having this viewpoint. And he tries to defend himself by saying he can't find it in himself to condemn what happened so long ago by the same standards as anyone would today. Basically saying that, well, 40 years ago, this kind of thing didn't really bother people.
Well, is he saying that it shouldn't bother people or didn't bother people, or is he saying that it doesn't bother him as an adult man today, like he's not traumatized by what happened to him when he was a boy?
Yeah, but then he's using that to implicate that it shouldn't be considered generally traumatic.
Right. Yeah, he says though his other classmates
Andrea. I wanted to... Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to read the thing I wanted to read. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, though, his other classmates also experienced abuse at the hands of this teacher. He says, I don't think he did any of us lasting harm. Which, like, how can you speak for everybody else who experienced it? How do you know that no lasting harm was done? And also, how can you even say about your own self that nothing about me or the way I feel about things would be different if this hadn't have happened to me?
Yeah.
Said, I am very conscious that you can't condemn people of an earlier era by the standards of ours. Just as we don't look back at the 18th and 19th centuries and condemn people for racism in the same way as we would condemn a modern person for racism, I look back a few decades to my childhood and see things like caning, like mild pedophilia, and can't find it in me to condemn it by the same standards as I or anyone would today.
Be mine. Could you be mine? I have always wanted to be a neighbor just like you.
Yeah, plus he added, oh, you already said this. The other classmates didn't mind either. None of us cared, man. Teach used to take us in the back and feel up on our tubes. We liked it.
Would you be mine?
Just some mild touching up.
Did you say feel up on our tubes?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
The pube tube.
Yeah, the pube tube.
My neighbor.
That's horrific.
Oh my god. Yes. And yeah. That was normal. Whatever. What's the use in pointing out things that happened a long time ago that are bad? Nah, who cares?
They're over.
Yeah, it's over. No use understanding history. It's not ever
No.
gonna. Yeah, I mean, not ever gonna be applicable anymore. There's no pedophiles left, by the way.
No.
So it's not as
No,
though.
and the pedophiles that used to exist only did some mild touching up.
And it's not as though generations of silence and looking the other way on the topic fueled the massive problem we have today. No, Mr. Dawkins, you're a real smart man. Holy shit. He seems to think that because a crime was committed a long time ago, who's this? Watt. Peter Watt, Director of Child Protection at the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And I bet they're full of pedophiles, by the way, too.
Right.
Mr. Dawkins seems to think that because a crime was committed a long time ago, we should judge it in a different way, Watt continued. But we know that the victims of sexual abuse suffer the same effects, whether it was 50 years ago or yesterday. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Look at, what's his name? Oh, man. The guy that was on Roseanne.
Goodman.
No, the other guy.
Arnold.
Arnold.
Tom Arnold.
Yeah. Was he on
I have
Roseanne, or
literally
he was
never
just
seen an episode
Roseanne's
of Roseanne.
husband? That's what it was in real life, I think. Whatever. He was molested, and, then look at him now. He's all fucked up, all crazy. Hey, anyways, let's just go somewhere else, because that was a pathetic attempt at a reference and non-joke.
Yeah, a reference to someone who you didn't know who it was.
Yeah, or if he was on the show or not. I don't think he was. Maybe he did an appearance or something.
Well, Katie still guessed it, though.
Yeah, Arnold. So what do you guys think about this in general? You guys pro pedophile or anti pedophile?
Pro.
Pro?
Yeah, I think if I'm ever going to achieve anything in this world and extend myself into the elite class, I'm going to have to go pro.
Doesn't that seem to be the way that it is like the most powerful people on the planet, generation after generation? It seems like there's a lot of child abuse, pedophilia, a lot of that going on.
For thousands of years.
Yeah. I mean, you want to take a look at some powerful pedophiles, look no further than Jared Fogle.
Oh.
Bigger celebrity there never was.
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly, yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I should come
Tyga.
out. I should come out as an artist named Ark Ellie. And just use that to get booked places. Like, I'm R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
You're saying R. Kelly? Yeah, R. Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Book
that's
me.
funny.
And I just show up there, and my act is like rolling around naked in a big pile of hot dogs and ketchup. Like,
You'll be the first person in 80 years to get tomatoed off a stage.
What do we? What is else? What is else? I feel like there's not much else to say other than that's a fucking stupid thing to say about pedophilia. Well, I guess there's not else many places to go with that. I went to a really cool place called Eureka Springs since the last show.
I'm sorry, called what? I was coughing.
Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Oh, yeah?
That is one of these places that, like, you don't drive on a big 6-lane highway and get off and exit and get to your place. You're off the highway for a significant amount of time, couple hours, and you're way out in the middle of fucking nowhere on these curvy shits, that it's like, they're like, hey, slow down for this next curve to 45. You see the sign like, oh, danger, curve ahead, 45, and you're already going like 30. Like, what? People drive like that around here, that they have to slow down to 45 for this shit? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's like terrifying, like hillside driving, And
Yeah, I've done that.
in the Ozarks. So I go way out there, and there's this old town called Eureka Springs, and I looked into it a little bit, and it's mid 1800s, was set up as like a resort kind of healing springs, and place for rich people to kind of go cool out for a while. And there was an element of sort of the underworld there, where it attracted like mobsters and politicians and the like, and prostitution and gambling and shit like that. But it was one of these places that, man, you go there and you're like, everything's from the 1800s, and everything's on top of a cliff or a hill, and so intricately built, and there's fucking the whole town is different levels, so you never walk on like a street to get places. You just go in like alleys and then like stairways that are just built for getting around. Like
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you just the whole time you're just thinking, how did you 1800s people do this shit? Like I would never attempt anything like this as an able-bodied young man in the 2000s. I would have been like, fuck a hill, dude. Let's go where it's flat over there. We can build a whole town in 3 weeks. Like, what are we doing? No way. But these people are like, we're going to conquer this absolutely beautiful terrain and exist in it. It's so cool. But you can't imagine, man, how hard it is to get there. You should see the hills you're driving up and down and stuff, too. If you're not used to it, you're just like, oh, my God, how do people live like this? And you imagine 150 years ago on fucking horses going up, like, 60-degree inclines and stuff, like, in the snow and whatever, building this fucking place. Like, holy shit. It's just such a cool, weird, isolated bubble of a place, and nobody really knows about it very much, I don't think, except for whoever has stumbled upon it. And then there's, like, real expensive resorts and shit still going on to this day, But interesting little spot, for sure. You guys gone?
No,
we're here.
All right, well, I mean, you
Just
can't...
imagining the beauty of
Yeah, me too.
Eureka Springs. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Eureka Springs.
I saw that video you posted of you and Darcy at the top of that rickety-looking wooden shit-ass tower.
Dude, we climbed. Katie, you would have been literally sobbing because I'm pretty good. I am a pussy compared to what I was when I was a little bit younger as far as climbing and stuff goes. And by the way, Darcy was pretending not to be scared in that video. 2 minutes later, I started to calm down, and I was like, all right, I'm cool up here. This is good. And it got really windy, and I was like, it's fine. And she's like, can we go? Can we go? Please, can we go? Can we go? Like, then she was the scared one, but I didn't have it on video. But we were on, just one of these things. You should see getting into that tower. It was hilarious. It was this thing from, like, the 60s. If you were fat, you would not be able to go on that tower, and that's probably by design. But it was like a turnstile for a subway, and you put 4 coins in, and it buzzes, and you can push through it. But you had to squeeze into the space, like it was tight for me, and I'm not that fat. So, like, you really got to be not fat to go in this thing. You squeeze into this, like, turnstile thing and go around, and you're totally encompassed. And then you're in the little area, and you can walk up the stairs. And it was just this.
So how many flights of stairs did you, like, how tall was it?
I think it's 7 stories up.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so when I was in Wisconsin last year,
but just to wrap it up, just so people can picture it properly, it's literally just in like a basic iron structure with chain link fence on the sides and 2x4 stairs. That's all you're up on, like 7 stories up in like this fucking really hard whipping mountain wind, and you just
horrifying.
Yeah. You can go to my Facebook and see it if you want, if you know my name. But
okay,
we
but
on
wait,
top of tower.
I have to say that you posted that video and I was like, holy shit, because last year or whenever I was in Wisconsin, we went to Door County and we went across the ferry to Washington Island, which is like this little island in Green Bay. And we were just like tooling around, and we were like, oh, look at that thing. And it was a tower, and it was made solely out of wood. There was no metal involved. And it was, I think, 5 stories.
Where were you?
Door County.
Oh, okay, because there's one of those in, there's a big one of those in Galena, too.
Okay.
But yeah,
I don't know.
Those are around, but go ahead.
It's like at the top of this hill.
Yeah.
Top of a hill in the middle of an island where there's like only farm land around. And we climbed up to the top of it, and it was the most horribly scary thing I've ever done. It was all rickety and creaky and like making sounds and shit. and just like the staircase was like real narrow and everything was all like falling apart and made of wood. And I was like, why am I doing this? Climbing up 5 stories while I'm already on the top of a big giant hill to look out. And then my husband thought that it was real hilarious to like rock back and forth and make the tower like move, while I was like clinging to the boards on the floor of this thing, sobbing hysterically, and, like unable to bring myself to move to go back down.
He's
the
just
stairs.
cackling sociopathically, just like just rocking it back and forth.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was awful.
Listeners of the show can picture Katie's husband as kind of like a darker version of Ricky Martin.
Accurate.
No, he's not. He has a beard and stuff.
He's a fancy Mexican.
Yeah, he's a fancy pants.
He is. He's like
He's more like Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, actually, yeah, maybe a little, but no, actually, not at all. He doesn't have Cuban swagger, not even a little.
He is Cuban though.
Okay, but he's distinctively Mexican in his like mannerisms and like speech.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
he's from Mexico.
Yeah, he definitely grew up there. So
He is.
Cubans have that very distinct swagger.
Yeah, they do.
And
They're
I got
cool.
news for you. Your husband ain't got it.
Oh.
Although wasn't he on a sassy Spanish show for a while?
Yeah, he was.
Did he dance on it?
Sassy. That's a very good word for him.
No, he's not sassy.
He's got like that Mexican sass.
Yeah.
Kind of pretty.
If he was like a professional boxer, his quotes, nickname would definitely be Pretty Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I'm not denying that he's a pretty boy.
Yeah. He's a Mexico City elitist.
Mm-hmm. Rich kid. He's a rich kid.
Yeah, people don't know that there are those in Mexico. He's one. The old rich Mexican. It's a tough one. It's a tough nut to crack.
It's a rare breed.
Yeah. He is. He is. He's like a fucking white rhino. We have to really fucking keep him under guard. Make sure nobody fucks this up.
Yeah.
In fact, you shouldn't be breeding with a pure specimen like that at all, actually.
Shut up. Why not?
Because
he needs another white rhino. You're gonna muddle up the genetics.
He should be with a rich Mexican girl from a family that they arrange while they're teenagers. That's how it works.
Royalty.
Yeah.
Did his parents try to arrange him with anyone or no?
To my knowledge, no, but
They're pissed off.
They really dropped the ball.
They're pissed off that he's with a fucking a gringa.
I think it's because
a
I
gringa.
think it's
Is it gringa?
a gringa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gringa. Yeah, I think it's because they lost their fortune. So like they're not like rich anymore. They're not millionaires anymore because his dad owned a company and his accountant stole all of his money and ran away. So maybe that's why they didn't arrange a marriage.
I was gonna
because
say,
they
what
were.
did they trade it for 3 horses from a Spanish invader? We literally couldn't even see the ships as they came in because we had no frame of reference in our understanding of reality. The invaders, we thought they were gods.
Okay, I don't think they would talk like that because they weren't.
I know. That's what's so funny about it.
They're not Speedy Gonzalez.
No. That's what's so good about it.
They were Indians. They would have more of like a howl. They would have more of a, like an Indian accent.
No,
But not this kind of Indian.
We could not see the ships. We did not know what the ship looked like.
Is that what
We
you
thought they
meant?
were
Yeah. Is that what you meant by Indian? No,
We
here's how.
traded our fortune for 3 horses
Here's how I
and
picture
the
it.
promise of a better future.
When Cortez comes across the ocean, he brings like mucho ships, and they had mucho like crazy guys, local dudes who come and they say, give us your gold, and we say, okay. They chop my mother's head off in the fields. No?
Mm-hmm.
Is that not what it was like?
No, that's what it was like, I think, basically. Because they had Spanish accents before the Spaniards came.
We saw their white skin. We think they are gods. They were very, very mean to us.
Did you guys ever watch that movie Apocalypto?
No.
I never thought of how funny it would be to portray Aztecs as Mexicans. We were doing our sacred rituals, rolling heads down stairs of pyramids, and
you saw.
making sacrifices to the corn gods. And Cortez and his men, they come in and they give us disease. They give us famine. They give us mucho killings. And our culture did not prevail.
God damn it, that's good.
This is called corridos, the music of my people. Tells us
All right, we
stories
gotta wrap
about-
this up. Katie's gonna get towed.
Yeah, I gotta go. My car's gonna get towed.
Oh, what does that mean? Somebody's gonna. All right.
Put a toad on my car.
Yeah,
They're gonna stick their toe in your tailpipe, and then when you drive away, you're gonna get carbon monoxide poisoning.
Where I come from, when the cartel is angry, make a payment, they put a toad in your tailpipe. As a signal.
Wait, a toad or a toe?
A toad.
I'm still not sure.
Clear that up.
No.
Now, show's over because I gotta go to the store to buy a jeans, and I'll be back next week on the Overdose Talk Show.
Adios.
Bye.
Adios. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us.
See ya!
All right. It's time for Talking Overdose with Seth Meyers. What's that guy's name?
Seth Meyers. Well, I mean, have you not seen a TV since 1999?
No, I haven't had a TV. I actually haven't had a TV in 5, 6, 7 years or something. Yeah.
5, 6,
7 years.
I don't know. It was shortly after I moved into my last house, so that's like 5, 6 years, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Huck Huck. Come on.
Huckleberry.
Good boy.
I don't
That's a
do
good
that
Huck Huck.
shit. I don't do that fucking TV shit. Fuck that shit.
Hi, Hucky.
Fuck that shit. 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 Fuck
want to be by Kinty? Yeah, of course. No, you just told me to push him away.
From Huck.
It wasn't by.
It was gonna be in.
No, Huck is getting tense because of the noises Vinny's making. Vinny, you're making Huck tense.
Makes Huck.
Making Huck tense. Huck does not love Kint. Sometimes he does.
Kint has been a real goon lately. All right, we gotta go.
Bye.
Bye, old beatboxer.
You guys leaving?
Yeah.
Wait, I was beatboxing with the delay. Did you hear that? Here's how you do it. Right?
Yeah, that was
cool.
That was some good shit.
That's what I was doing.
Wait, let me try. wait.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Wait.
No, it's like this.
Yeah.
Fresh. Wait, what's that guy that everybody thinks is really awesome, but is actually like a mediocre beatboxer? You know what I'm talking about, Andrea? That's always at like the TED conference and shit.
Beatbox Finnegan.
Yeah, fucking fighting Finnegan, the beatboxer, out of South Wales.
Yeah. No, we actually watched one of his videos not too long ago.
Yeah,
remember?
we did. Yeah.
Oh, what is his name? Ronnie? Is it Ronnie Watts? Is that right?
Ronnie Dobbs.
No, not Ronnie Dobbs.
Box beat.
She's a professional liologist.
Yeah, you be a professional stand back to beat. All right, we gotta go, Vin. This has been really nice. I'm gonna hang up now.
All right, sorry.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. See you guys later.
Adieu.
Adieu. Get out of here already.
Yeah, go.
Stupid cunts. Oh my. Well, I guess we've hit the end of the road. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight and sticking around for Talking Overdose with Seth Meyers. This is Seth Meyers signing out, and it has been my pleasure to spend this evening with you. I have to go feed my donkey. Good night.